Dear listener, hello, and welcome to the Deep Sleep Science channel. The forest has been holding its breath all through the bright, loud day, and now, at last, it lets out a long, slow sigh. You can feel it in the air, a coolness that rises from the earth, carrying the scent of damp soil and resting leaves. This is the signal. The world we know is tucking itself in, and another, quieter world, a world of silver and shadow, is just beginning to stir. So let's drift into that gentle darkness together and explore the quiet science of the life that awakens there, the beautiful and ingenious ways these creatures have been shaped to not just survive the night, but to call it home. Some animals possess an almost magical ability to glow in the dark, a phenomenon known as bioluminescence. Fireflies and glowworms use this living light, creating faint, pulsing signals in the deep shadows of the woods. These flickers are not just for show. They are silent conversations, used to attract mates or, sometimes, to lure unsuspecting prey in the quiet of the night. This enchanting light is produced by a special chemical reaction inside their bodies, a process that is remarkably efficient and releases very little heat. This cold light is a unique adaptation, allowing these creatures to communicate visually when the sun has long since set, painting the forest floor with their delicate, moving constellations. In the quiet after sunset, the air in the forest often cools and settles into layers, a condition that can actually help sound travel much farther than it does during the crin's day. This is why the hoot of an owl or the distant snap of a twig can seem so crisp and clear, carried on the still night air. This acoustic clarity turns the entire forest into a natural amphitheater, where even the smallest sounds can play a significant role. These unique atmospheric conditions are a crucial part of the nocturnal world, shaping how animals communicate and listen for one another across the darkened landscape. For predators and prey alike, this enhanced soundscape means that every rustle and call becomes a vital piece of information, a clue to what is moving unseen through the trees. The eyes of many nocturnal creatures are equipped with a special reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum, which acts like a mirror behind their retina. This is what causes that familiar, eerie glow when a light catches their eyes in the dark. This structure essentially gives their eyes a second chance to capture light, significantly improving their ability to see in near-total darkness. This remarkable adaptation allows animals like cats, deer, and raccoons to navigate and hunt with an astonishing level of visual precision, even on the most moonless of nights. It is a perfect example of how life adapts to fill every available niche, turning the deep, dark forest into a world full of movement and activity. Some nocturnal animals have developed a form of silent movement, allowing them to travel through the forest with astonishing stealth. The wings of an owl, for instance, are fringed with soft, comb-like feathers that break up the sound of air flowing over them, permitting them to fly in near total silence. This acoustic camouflage is a powerful advantage, letting them approach their prey completely unheard. Similarly, animals like deer and foxes have soft padded feet or cushioned hooves that muffle the sound of their steps on the forest floor. This quiet locomotion is a key survival tool in the nocturnal world, where the ability to move without making a sound can mean the difference between finding a meal and becoming one. The darkness of the forest is not uniform. It is a shifting tapestry of shadows and faint light, influenced by the phases of the moon. Many animals synchronize their activities with this lunar cycle, a behavior known as lunar phobia, or fear of the moon. During the bright light of a full moon, many smaller creatures become less active, hiding from predators that can hunt more easily in the increased light. Conversely, Some predators use the full moon to their advantage, capitalizing on the improved visibility to find their prey. This delicate balance of risk and opportunity creates a monthly rhythm in the forest, a quiet, slow-motion dance between hunter and hunted, all orchestrated by the soft light of the moon. The eyes of nocturnal animals are not just sensitive to faint light, they are also often more attuned to detecting movement than fine detail. This is because their retinas are packed with photoreceptor cells called rods, which excel at picking up motion in low-light conditions. This specialization makes them incredibly effective at spotting the slightest rustle in the undergrowth. While this means their vision may lack the vibrant color and sharp focus that daytime creatures enjoy, it is perfectly suited for the challenges of their world. In the deep shadows of the forest, the ability to perceive a fleeting movement is far more critical for survival than seeing the world in high definition. Some forest flowers have evolved to bloom only at night, releasing their sweet fragrances into the cool, still air to attract nocturnal pollinators like moths and bats. These night-blooming plants, such as evening primrose and moonflower, are often pale or white, making them more visible in the faint light of the moon and stars. This special relationship is a beautiful example of co-evolution, a quiet partnership that ensures the continuation of both plant and pollinator. While the forest sleeps, these night-blooming flowers and their winged visitors are engaged in a vital and ancient exchange, hidden from the daytime world. Deep within the forest, the air at night can become filled with a chorus of sounds that are beyond the range of human hearing. Many bats use high-frequency echolocation, emitting ultrasonic pulses and listening to the echoes to build a detailed sound map of their surroundings. This allows them to navigate through dense vegetation and pinpoint tiny insects in complete darkness. This remarkable sensory ability is a testament to the diverse ways life has adapted to the night. It is a form of seeing with sound, a sophisticated biological sonar that transforms the darkened forest into a landscape rich with texture and detail, all perceived through a sense we can only begin to imagine. Nocturnal predators often have their eyes positioned on the front of their heads, which provides them with excellent binocular vision. This overlap in the visual fields of each eye allows for superior depth perception, a critical skill for accurately judging distances to prey in a 3-star, dimensional, cluttered forest environment. This anatomical arrangement is common in animals like owls and cats, and it is a key reason for their success as nighttime hunters. Their ability to precisely gauge the location of a mouse rustling in the leaves or a bird perched on a branch is a direct result of this specialized, forward-facing gaze. Certain forest insects, like some species of moths, possess ears that are exquisitely tuned to the ultrasonic frequencies used by bats for echolocation. When they detect the high-pitched clicks of an approaching bat, they can take immediate evasive action, such as suddenly dropping from the air or flying in an erratic pattern to avoid capture. This evolutionary arms race between predator and prey is a constant, silent drama that unfolds every night in the forest canopy. It is a high-stakes game of acoustic hide-and-seek, where survival depends on the ability to hear and react to sounds that are completely imperceptible to us. The forest floor at night is a world in itself, teeming with creatures that contribute to the health of the ecosystem. Earthworms and countless small soil invertebrates become more active after dark, burrowing through the leaf litter and soil. Their tireless work helps to break down organic matter, aerate the soil, and recycle vital nutrients. This subterranean activity is a fundamental process, connecting the world of the night to the very foundation of the forest's vitality. It's a quiet, unseen form of labor that ensures the soil remains fertile and the entire ecosystem can continue to thrive. The sense of smell becomes incredibly important in the darkness, and many nocturnal mammals have developed a highly sophisticated olfactory system. They use scent marking, leaving behind chemical signals on trees and along trails to communicate with each other, define their territories, and find mates in a world where visual cues are limited. These invisible scent trails create a complex map of social information overlaid upon the physical landscape. For these animals, the night air is rich with messages, carrying stories of presence, dominance, and availability that guide their interactions and movements through the darkened woods. Some animals that are active at night aren't strictly nocturnal. They are crepuscular, meaning they are most active during the twilight hours of dawn and dusk. This strategy allows them to take advantage of the low light conditions to avoid daytime predators, while also avoiding the deepest, coldest part of the night. This behavior is a clever compromise, a way to find a unique window of opportunity between the worlds of day and night. Creatures like rabbits, deer, and some species of owls often follow this pattern, making the gentle transitions of sunrise and sunset particularly active times in the forest. The whiskers of many nocturnal mammals, such as raccoons and foxes, are far more than just facial hair. They are highly sensitive tactile organs called vibrissae, which are deeply rooted in nerve-filled follicles. These whiskers can detect even the slightest air currents and physical vibrations, providing a detailed sense of the animal's immediate surroundings in complete darkness. This sense of touch at a distance allows them to navigate through tight spaces without seeing, feel the texture of the ground, and even detect the subtle movements of prey. Their whiskers effectively create a three-dimensional feel of the world around them, a crucial tool for moving confidently and quietly through the night. The faint light from stars and the ambient glow from the sky, even on moonless nights, provide just enough illumination for some nocturnal animals navigate. Certain birds and insects that migrate at night have been shown to use the patterns of the stars as a celestial compass to guide their long journeys. This ability to orient using such distant and subtle cues is a remarkable feat of natural navigation. It suggests a deep, innate connection to the cosmos, where the entire night sky becomes a map for traversing vast, unfamiliar landscapes under the cover of darkness. Not all eyes are the same, and some nocturnal animals have pupils that are shaped like vertical slits rather than circles. This shape provides a significant advantage, as it can close more tightly than a circular pupil to block out bright light, while also opening extremely wide to let in maximum light in dark conditions. Furthermore, this slit shape can help to create a sharper image in a wider range of light levels, and may even assist with judging distance, especially for predators that ambush their prey from a low to the ground perspective. It's a subtle but powerful adaptation for a life spent moving between shadow and occasional light. The world of nocturnal insects is incredibly diverse, extending far beyond the familiar image of moths fluttering around a light. It includes countless species of beetles, crickets, and other invertebrates, each playing a specific role in the forest ecosystem. Their nighttime activity supports a wide web of predators, including bats, spiders, and nocturnal birds. From pollinating night-blooming plants to serving as a crucial food source, these insects are an essential part of the forest's nighttime machinery. Their collective hum and rustle is the quiet engine that powers much of the activity we see in the hours after sunset. Some forest amphibians, like certain species of salamanders, have skin that is highly permeable, making them very sensitive to moisture levels. They often wait for the cool, damp conditions of the night before emerging from their shelters under logs and leaves. This is when the humidity is highest, allowing them to move and forage without the risk of dehydration. As a result, the very same patch of forest can seem devoid of life on a dry evening, yet come alive with these gentle creatures on a wet, misty night. Their activity is intrinsically linked to the delicate microclimate of the forest floor, a world of moisture and shadow that they have made their own. Many nocturnal animals rely on a finely tuned spatial memory to navigate their territories in the dark. They create detailed cognitive maps of their home ranges, memorizing the locations of important resources like food sources, water, and safe resting chairs. Spots. This allows them to move with purpose and efficiency even when visual landmarks are obscured. This impressive mental cartography is especially vital in complex environments like dense forests, where the landscape can look uniform and confusing in the low light. It demonstrates that intelligence and memory are just as important as sensory adaptations for thriving in the nocturnal world. The night is not just a time of hunting and feeding for many species, it is the primary time for social interaction and communication. From the complex hoots of owls that signal territory and readiness to mate, to the subtle chemical cues left by small mammals, the forest at night is alive with echo. Conversations. These interactions, carried out under the veil of darkness, are essential for the survival and reproduction of these species. They form a complex social fabric that is woven into the very structure of the nocturnal ecosystem, a hidden community that comes to life while the daytime BT world is at rest. The very existence of a world that awakens after sunset is a profound evolutionary strategy, a behavior known as nocturnality. For these creatures, the period between dusk and dawn is the primary time for all of life's important activities, finding food, moving through their territory, and interacting with one another. This fundamental rhythm is guided by deep-seated biological clocks, perfectly synchronized with the planet's daily cycle of light and dark. This turning away from the sun is not a random choice, but a powerful adaptation that allows animals to find their own unique place within the ecosystem. By embracing the darkness, they reduce competition for resources with daytime animals and find a niche where they can not only survive but truly flourish under team. The quiet cover of the night. The sheer scale of this nocturnal world is astounding, with a vast majority of mammals choosing to live their lives under the cover of darkness. It is estimated that around 70% of all mammal species are nocturnal. This includes a diverse cast of familiar forest dwellers, from raccoons and opossums to mice, ferrets, and a multitude of other small rodents. This widespread adoption of a nocturnal lifestyle highlights its incredible success as an evolutionary strategy. It shows that for most mammals, the challenges of the night are far outweighed by the benefits of avoiding the heat, the competition, and the predators that dominate the packer. Daylight hours, making the dark the preferred time to be alive and active. When night falls, it reveals a hidden architecture of ecological relationships, a complex web of interactions that remains invisible during the day. This intricate network is built on predation, symbiosis, and competition, all unfolding in the deep shadows of the forest. These nighttime connections are just as vital to the health of the ecosystem as the ones that occur in the light. These nocturnal dramas include the crucial work of seed dispersal by fruit bats, the pollination of night-blooming flowers by moths, and the silent, ongoing dance of predator and prey. Together, these activities contribute to the overall dynamics of the forest, proving that the ecosystem never truly sleeps. It simply changes its guard. The pressure exerted by predators that hunt exclusively at night plays a crucial role in maintaining the delicate balance of forest populations. Their activity helps to prevent the overabundance of small mammals and other prey species, ensuring that the food web remains stable and diverse. This nightly hunt is a form of natural regulation, essential for the health of the entire community. These nocturnal predators are not just repeating the work of their daytime counterparts, they are complementing it, creating a system of around-the-clock ecological control. By specializing in the night, they expand the range of niches within the ecosystem, allowing for a richer and more complex tapestry of life to exist within the Prabul forest. The work of the night extends far beyond the animal kingdom, reaching into the worlds of fungi and microscopic organisms. Deep within the leaf litter and soil, a hidden community of decomposers becomes active after dark, quietly influencing the forest's nutrient cycles. This unseen world is a vital part of the nocturnal ecosystem. Alongside these microorganisms, earthworms and other small invertebrates continue their important work through the night, burrowing and feeding, aiding in the breakdown of fallen leaves and wood. Their tireless, silent activity is fundamental to the forest's ability to regenerate, ensuring that the nutrients from decaying matter are returned to the soil to support new life. The vast community of nocturnal insects forms the critical base layer of the forest's nighttime food web. Their sheer abundance after dusk provides an essential source of energy that supports a wide array of higher-level species. Bats, amphibians, and many small mammals rely almost entirely on this nightly emergence of insects for their sustenance. The rhythmic rise and fall of insect activity throughout the night directly shapes the feeding patterns and diets of their predators. The forest's pulse, in many ways, is dictated by the quiet stirring of its smallest inhabitants, whose collective presence makes all other nocturnal life possible. The cool, refreshing air of the night provides a significant energetic advantage for many animals, especially in warmer climates. By being active after the sun has set, they avoid the risk of overheating and reduce the amount of water their bodies lose to evaporation. This makes the night hours a much more efficient time for sustained activity. This relief from the daytime heat is particularly important in tropical forests, where high temperatures can severely limit an animal's ability to forage or find a mate. The thermal comfort of the night allows for longer and more successful periods of activity, helping these creatures to conserve precious energy while they go about their lives. The conditions of the night are not simply a matter of darkness. They are a complex and ever-changing mix of multiple environmental factors. The level of light, the humidity in the air, the physical structure of the vegetation, and the presence of artificial human lighting all interact to shape the behavior of nocturnal animals. Because these elements are so intertwined, two different nights can produce vastly different patterns of activity, even if the clock reads the same time. The phase of the moon, the current weather, and the distant glow of a city can all shift the delicate balance of the nocturnal world, making each night a unique experience for the creatures that inhabit it. Across the globe, human activity profoundly influences the rhythms of nocturnal forest ecosystems. Wildlife has been widely observed to adjust its behavior to avoid our presence, shifting its movements to the later, quieter, and darker hours of the night. This makes truly dark and undisturbed nights increasingly important for the health of these animal populations. Even activities that we might consider low impact, such as hiking with a headlamp, can be enough to cause animals to retreat deeper into the darkness. This shrinking of their available time and space underscores the far-reaching and often unintentional effects that our world has on the natural world around us. The increasing presence of artificial light at night is creating a new and insidious type of environmental barrier, one that can be just as disruptive as a physical obstacle like a road or a clear cut. For nocturnal animals, a brightly lit area can effectively fragment their habitat, breaking the dark corridors they rely on for movement. This is especially damaging in forested landscapes where animals need to travel between their resting spots and their feeding grounds under the cover of continuous camber. Darkness. The spill of artificial light creates impassable zones at perceived risk, shrinking the usable world for creatures who have evolved to thrive in the shadows. In addition to light pollution, the world's nocturnal wildlife faces emerging and far-reaching threats from global climate change. Shifting seasonal patterns can disrupt the timing of hibernation, migration, and reproduction, all of which are finely tuned to historical climate cues. These changes can create a mismatch between an animal's behavior and the availability of its food sources. Furthermore, changes in temperature and rainfall patterns can alter the very structure of the forest habitats that these animals depend on. The long-term consequences of these large-scale disruptions are still being understood, but they represent a profound challenge to the resilience of nocturnal ecosystems everywhere. The sensory world of the nocturnal forest is a rich and layered tapestry, woven from many different threads of perception. It includes the acoustic sight of bats using echolocation, the resonant calls of frogs echoing through the humid air, and the invisible olfactory trails left by mammals. Each mode of communication is perfectly adapted to the challenges of darkness. This incredible diversity of senses allows for a complex and peaceful coexistence of many different species within the same shared space. It ensures that even without the clarity of daylight, the forest remains a world of constant communication, a place where information is flowing through the air, ground, and the trees themselves. The physical structure of the forest itself plays a huge role in shaping the behavior of its nocturnal inhabitants. For animals that are sensitive to moonlight, the amount of vegetation cover can determine whether a night feels safe or dangerous. A dense canopy can mute the brightness of a full moon, while a more open understory can increase an animal's exposure and perceived risk. This interaction between light and habitat helps to explain why different forest management practices can have such a significant impact on wildlife. The density of the canopy, the presence of a shrub layer, and the overall structure of the vegetation all contribute to the nightly patterns of activity for prey, predator alike. The architecture of the forest also has a direct influence on how animals like bats navigate and find food. While some bats are adapted to fly in cluttered environments, many still prefer to travel and hunt along routes that are relatively open and straight, often following the lines of tall trees or the edges of clearings. This preference for less cluttered flight paths means that bat activity often becomes concentrated in specific parts of the forest, such as along trails, over tenak, streams, or in the open space beneath a high canopy. The very structure of the woods creates a network of invisible highways in the sky, shaping the nightly movements of its winged inhabitants. The transitional zones where two habitats meet, such as the border between a forest and a meadow, are known as edges, and they can become hotspots of activity at night. These areas offer the best of both worlds for many species, the cover and safety of the trees, combined with the abundant food resources often found in more open tassa areas. Nocturnal predators like owls and foxes often hunt along these edges, using the darkness of the forest to conceal their approach while scanning the open ground for prey. This EJ effect creates a dynamic and resource-rich environment, making the boundaries of the forest some of the most active places to be after the sun goes down. Within the larger forest, a mosaic of distinct microclimates emerges at night. The air in the leaf litter on the forest floor might be significantly cooler and more humid than the air just a few feet above in the understory. These subtle variations in temperature and moisture create a patchwork of different habitats. These microhabitats are not insignificant. They are crucial for the survival of many nocturnal animals. By moving between them, creatures can conserve precious energy, stay hydrated, and find the most comfortable conditions for resting or foraging. The night forest is not a single environment, but a multitude of tiny, interconnected worlds. The work of fruit bats provides a stunning example of how the actions of a single nocturnal species can shape the entire landscape. As they travel through the forest at night, they feed on fruit and then fly on, dispersing the seeds far from the parent plant in their droppings. This behavior is a powerful force for plant regeneration. Over time, the nightly flight corridors of these bats can actually influence the geographic distribution of plant species across the landscape. They act as unwitting gardeners of the night, spreading life and connecting distant patches of forest, ensuring the continued diversity and resilience of the entire ecosystem. The pollination of flowers is a service we often associate with the bees and butterflies of the daytime, but a vital portion of this work is carried out after dark. Nocturnal pollinators, especially moths, are responsible for the reproduction of many plant species that have adapted to a life in the shadows. This mutualistic relationship between night-blooming flowers and their insect visitors is a cornerstone of forest biodiversity. It ensures that a whole segment of the plant community can thrive, contributing to the overall health and complexity of the ecosystem in a way that would be impossible without the quiet, diligent work of these nighttime creatures. In the end, nocturnality is more than just a behavior. It is a fundamental organizing principle of the forest. It effectively doubles the number of available niches by creating a second, parallel world that operates on a different schedule. This temporal partitioning of the environment allows a far greater diversity of life to coexist than would otherwise be possible. By dividing the 24-hour day into two distinct realms, the ecosystem can support a daytime community and a nighttime community, each with its own unique cast of characters and its own intricate web of relationships. The quiet hum of the forest at night is a testament to this elegant, large-scale solution for sharing space and time. The very act of living by night is, in itself, a story of ancient origins, an evolutionary path chosen by countless species over millions of years. Nocturnality is an evolved behavior where the essential activities of life, from feeding to socializing, are shifted to the hours between sunset and sunrise. This profound adaptation helps animals align their existence with the most favorable conditions for their survival. This shift into the darkness is a strategy born from the pressures of the ancient world, a way to increase the chances of finding food while reducing competition with the bustling life of the daytime. For the creatures of the forest, the night became a distinct and promising ecological frontier, a new world waiting to be claimed. The evolution of nocturnal life was often driven by a simple, powerful incentive: avoiding the dangers of the day. By becoming active at night, many species were able to escape the notice of daytime predators, giving them a significant advantage in the ongoing struggle for survival. The darkness became a cloak, a sanctuary from the keen eyes of eagles and hawks. At the same time, this temporal shift allowed animals to sidestep direct competition for resources. With the daytime hunters and foragers at rest, the night offered a quieter, less crowded landscape in which to find food, water, and shelter. The night wasn't an empty world, but a different one, with its own set of rules and opportunities. The enchanting glow of bioluminescence, the ability of an organism to produce its own light, is a magical seeming trait that evolved as a powerful tool for communication in the dark. This living light is the result of a highly specialized chemical reaction, a biological innovation perfected over eons to serve a specific purpose in the nocturnal world. For creatures like fireflies and glowworms, this adaptation opened up a new channel for visual signaling when all other light had faded. It is a testament to the creativity of evolution, finding a way to paint with light in the deepest shadows of the forest, allowing silent, luminous conversations to unfold. One of the most captivating stories of evolution is the ongoing acoustic arms race between bats and moths. As bats developed increasingly sophisticated echolocation to hunt in the dark, certain species of moths evolved their own remarkable countermeasures. They developed ears capable of hearing the ultrasonic pulses of an approaching bat. This ability to eavesdrop on their predators gave these moths a crucial window of time to take evasive action, leading to a silent, high-speed chase in the night sky. This back-and-forth development of measures and countermeasures is a perfect example of co-evolution, a dynamic and endless dance of adaptation between predator and prey. The mesmerizing eyeshine we see in many nocturnal animals is a product of the tapetum lucidum, a mirrored layer that evolved to maximize the use of every available photon of light. This structure acts as a light collector, reflecting any light that passes through the retina back for a second chance at being absorbed by the photoreceptor cells. This adaptation represents a critical evolutionary leap for seeing in the dark, effectively amplifying faint starlight or moonlight into a usable image. It is a simple but brilliant innovation that gave nocturnal vertebrates a profound advantage, allowing them to navigate and hunt in conditions that would seem like total blackness to us. The evolution of the owl's wing is a masterclass in acoustic engineering. Over countless generations, the leading edges of their flight feathers developed a stiff, comb-like fringe, while the trailing edges became soft and flexible. These subtle modifications work together to break up the turbulence of air flowing over the wing, the primary source of sound in flight. This adaptation for silent flight gives owls an almost supernatural ability to approach their prey without being detected. It is a specialization born from the intense pressure to succeed as a nighttime predator, a quiet refinement of form that turned them into masters of the stealthy hunt. The relationship between night-blooming flowers and their pollinators is a beautiful story of co-evolution. As certain plants adapted to open their blossoms after dark, a specialized group of pollinators, like moths and bats, evolved in tandem to take advantage of this new food source. The plants, in turn, developed features to better attract their nighttime visitors. These flowers often evolved to be pale in color, making them more visible in low light, and to release their fragrances most strongly in the cool night air. This synchronized development created a unique and interdependent partnership, a quiet pact between plant and animal that ensures the life cycle of both can continue under the stars. The sensitive whiskers found on so many nocturnal mammals are a product of a long evolutionary journey, transforming simple hairs into sophisticated sensory tools. These vibrissae are much thicker and more deeply rooted than other hairs, and each one is connected to a dense network of nerves and muscles, making them exquisitely sensitive to the slightest touch or movement of air. This adaptation provided a way to feel the world in immediate, three-dimensional detail, even in complete darkness. For an animal navigating a cluttered forest floor or a narrow burrow, this tactile sense became a crucial alternative to vision, a way to map the world through touch. The evolution of forward-facing eyes in nocturnal predators like owls and wild cats was a pivotal development for hunting in a complex, three-dimensional dummy environment. This particular eye placement allows the visual fields from both eyes to overlap significantly, creating true binocular vision. The primary benefit of this arrangement is vastly improved depth perception, the ability to accurately judge the distance, size, and speed of an object. For a predator about to strike, this evolutionary trait is absolutely critical, transforming a blurry, flattened world into a clear and tangible space where a successful hunt is possible. As vision became less reliable in the darkness, the sense of smell evolved to become a primary channel for communication in many nocturnal mammals. The development of specialized glands and the behavior of scent marking allowed animals to leave rich, detailed messages for one another, embedded in the landscape itself. This form of chemical communication evolved as a robust and long-lasting way to define territory, advertise reproductive status, and recognize individuals, all without needing to see. It created an invisible social network, a language of scent that became one of the cornerstones of nocturnal life. The crepuscular lifestyle, focused on the twilight hours of dawn and dusk, likely evolved as a strategic compromise. It allowed animals to avoid the intense heat and the peak activity of predators during both the middle of the day and the dead of night. It is an evolutionary niche found in the moments of transition. By specializing in these in-between times, creatures could carve out a relatively safe and resource-rich period for their activities. This evolutionary path highlights the immense pressure to find a unique temporal space within the 24-hour cycle, a quiet window of opportunity between Dao Pin, the two dominant worlds of day and night. The remarkable ability of some night-migrating birds and insects to use the stars for navigation is an adaptation honed over millennia. As these species undertook their long seasonal journeys, individuals with a better innate ability to orient themselves using celestial cues would have been more likely to survive and reproduce, passing this skill on to their offspring. This led to the evolution of a sophisticated internal compass, a biological mechanism for reading the patterns of the night sky. It's an awe-inspiring example of how life can evolve to connect with the grandest of environmental cues, turning the entire cosmos into a reliable map for their epic travels. Moths and other nocturnal insects didn't just stumble into the night, they evolved to thrive there. Over time, they developed adaptations that allowed them to take advantage of the unique opportunities the darkness offered. This included exploiting new food sources, like the nectar of night-blooming flowers, and escaping the birds and other predators that dominated the day. Their life cycles became intimately synchronized with the rhythms of the night. The timing of their emergence, their feeding behavior, and their mating rituals all evolved to align with the cool, dark, and relatively safe conditions that existed after sunset. The heightened senses of hearing and smell in many nocturnal creatures are not just additions, they represent an evolutionary trade-off. As life in the dark made vision less reliable, natural selection favored individuals with more acute abilities in other sensory domains. Energy and neural processing power were diverted from the visual system to the auditory and olfactory systems. This reallocation of sensory resources is a classic example of evolutionary specialization. Instead of being a jack of all senses, these animals became masters of hearing and smell, developing the precise tools they needed to navigate, hunt, communicate in a world where sight was no longer king. The evolution of quiet movement is a recurring theme in the story of nocturnal life. Whether it's the silent flight of an owl or the soft padded step of a fox, this adaptation arose from the intense selective pressure of the predator-prey relationship in a PAL. Low-light environment. Any sound could betray a position, leading to a missed meal or a fatal encounter. Over generations, individuals with physical traits that muffled their movements were more successful. This led to the refinement of specialized feathers, cushioned paws, and careful, deliberate gaits, all evolutionary solutions to the critical problem of moving through the night without making a sound. The prehensile tail of the opossum is a wonderful example of an adaptation for a life spent moving through the complex, three-dimensional world of the forest at night. This tail, capable of grasping onto branches, evolved to act as a fifth limb, providing extra stability and support while climbing. This trait gives the opossum a significant advantage, allowing it to forage for food in the trees with greater confidence and efficiency. It supplements its other senses, providing a physical, tactile connection to its environment that is especially useful when navigating in the dark. The powerful digging ability of the badger is an adaptation finely tuned for its nocturnal foraging strategy. Their strong limbs and long claws evolved to allow them to efficiently unearth their primary food sources, such as earthworms, insects, and plant roots, which are often buried just beneath the surface of the forest floor. This specialization links their surface activity directly to the rich ecosystem within the soil. Their nightly digging not only feeds them but also influences the structure of the invertebrate community and helps to turn over the soil, demonstrating how a single evolutionary adaptation can have cascading effects on the environment. The development of echolocation in bats and some other animals is one of evolution's most ingenious solutions to the problem of navigating in total darkness. This ability to see with sound did not appear overnight, but was gradually refined over millions of years, starting from simple rudimentary calls and dia, progressing to the incredibly sophisticated biosonar systems we see today. This sensory adaptation opened up a vast new world for these creatures, allowing them to hunt fast-moving insects and maneuver through the most cluttered of environments with astonishing precision. It is a prime example of evolution producing a truly novel way of perceiving reality. The behavior of avoiding bright moonlight, known as lunar phobia, is a survival strategy that has been shaped by natural selection. For countless generations, small prey animals that were more cautious and less active during the full moon were more likely to avoid being seen and captured by predators. This consistent pressure favored the evolution of an innate sensitivity to lunar cycles. The moon became a celestial clock of risk, and the behavior of hiding during its brightest phases became deeply ingrained in the genetic makeup of many species, a life-saving inheritance passed down through the ages. The slit-shaped pupils found in many nocturnal predators are not an accident of design. They are a highly evolved feature for a life of ambush. This shape allows for a much greater range of control over the amount of light entering the eye compared to a round pupil. They can close to a tiny sliver in bright light and open incredibly wide in the dark. Furthermore, this vertical slit has been shown to be particularly advantageous for predators that hunt close to the ground, as it helps them to more accurately judge distance without needing to move their head. It is a subtle but powerful piece of evolutionary engineering for a successful life in the shadows. The entire nocturnal ecosystem operates within a framework of finely tuned internal clocks. These biological timers, present in nearly all living things, are what drive the daily rhythms of activity and rest. In nocturnal animals, these clocks are precisely calibrated to the cycle of the sun, ensuring that they awaken as darkness falls and seek shelter as dawn approaches. This internal sense of time does more than just align behavior with day and night. It also attests to more subtle environmental patterns. The clocks can be influenced by the gentle ebb and flow of moonlight or the soft, transitional light of twilight, allowing for an even more nuanced and adaptive response to the world. The structure of the forest after dark is not just a physical space, but a complex acoustic environment. At night, the physics of sound transmission near the ground change dramatically. The cooler, stiller air often allows sounds to travel with greater clarity and over longer distances, creating a unique soundscape for the creatures that inhabit it. However, even small shifts in wind speed or subtle gradients in air temperature can alter how sound behaves. These changes can cause a call to be carried clearly, to be bent upwards into the sky, or to be distorted and muffled by the vegetation, making the act of listening dynamic and ever-changing challenge. The very makeup of the air at night plays a role in the forest's nocturnal life. As temperatures drop, humidity often rises, creating a moist environment that is crucial for many species. This is especially true for amphibians, whose permeable skin requires a damp atmosphere to prevent dehydration during their nightly activities. This same humidity can also affect the transmission of scents and sounds, subtly altering the sensory landscape. The nightly blanket of cool, moist air is a fundamental environmental process, a key structural component of the nocturnal world that shapes the behavior, survival of its inhabitants. The health of the nocturnal forest system is deeply connected to its network of decomposers. Creatures like earthworms, millipedes, and a vast array of microorganisms work tirelessly through the night, breaking down fallen leaves, wood, and other organic material. This process of decomposition is the engine of nutrient cycling in the forest. Their collective activity releases essential nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus back into the soil, making them available for plants to absorb. This quiet, continuous work, largely happening under the cover of darkness, is what sustains the fertility of the forest and supports the entire food web from the LAD, ground up. The soil itself is a critical part of the nocturnal forest structure, providing shelter and a source of food for many creatures. Badgers, for example, use their powerful claws to dig into the earth, unearthing invertebrates and plant roots. Their foraging behavior directly connects the world above ground, with the ecosystem thriving just beneath the surface. This subterranean activity does more than just feed the badger. It also aerates the soil and influences the community of insects and worms living there. The simple act of digging for a meal becomes a structural force, shaping the very composition of the forest floor. The physical structure of the forest, its trees, logs, and root tangles, provides the essential architecture for nocturnal life. Fallen logs and dense thickets of roots are not just debris. They are vital pieces of cover, offering refuge from predators and safe corridors for movement through the dark. For many animals, these physical features also serve as consistent and reliable landmarks. In a world where visual cues are scarce, a familiar log or a uniquely shaped tree can become a crucial navigational aid, a fixed point in the mental map an animal uses to traverse its territory night after night. The edges of the forest, where the dense woods meet an open field or a clearing, are structurally unique and ecologically significant zones. At night, these transitional areas often become hubs of activity, acting as natural corridors and prime foraging grounds for a wide variety of species. These edge habitats provide a perfect combination of safety and opportunity. Animals can stay close to the protective cover of the trees while taking advantage of the different food sources available in the more open space. This makes the forest edge a dynamic and vital part of the nocturnal landscape. The dense canopy of the forest acts as a structural filter for light, profoundly influencing the environment on the ground below. On a bright, moonlit night, a thick canopy can create a mosaic of deep shadows and soft, dappled light, muting the intensity and providing cover for light-shy creatures. This light filtering effect is a key component of the nocturnal habitat. The density and composition of the tree canopy directly shape the patterns of light and shadow on the forest floor, which in turn dictates where and when many smaller animals will feel safe enough to move and forage. The forest understory, the layer of shrubs, saplings, and other low-lying vegetation, forms another crucial structural element of the nocturnal world. This layer can be a source of food, a place of shelter, or a significant obstacle to movement, depending on the animal. For a small mouse, a dense understory provides a welcome network of hidden pathways and protection from the owls above. For a larger deer, that same dense vegetation might be a difficult barrier to push through. The structure of this middle layer helps to sort and channel the flow of life through the forest at night. The presence of water in the form of streams, ponds, and even temporary puddles is a fundamental structural component of any ecosystem, and the AIB. Nocturnal forest is no exception. These water sources are critical for drinking, but they also create unique habitats for a host of species. The humid air and damp soil near a stream support a rich community of amphibians and insects, which in turn attract predators. The sound of moving water can also become part of the nocturnal soundscape, sometimes masking other sounds and influencing how animals listen for danger or for mates. The very chemistry of the air and soil is an invisible but vital part of the forest's structure. The scents released by plants, the pheromones left by animals, and the earthy smell of damp soil all contribute to a complex chemical landscape that is particularly important at night. For animals with a keen sense of smell, this olfactory environment is rich with information. It guides them to food, warns them of predators, and leads them to potential mates. This unseen chemical structure is a fundamental layer of the nocturnal world, shaping behavior as much as any physical object. The internal biological clocks that govern nocturnal behavior are themselves part of a larger, systemic process. These clocks are not isolated. They are constantly being synchronized or entrained by external cues from the environment, with the most powerful cue being the daily cycle of light and dark. This daily resetting ensures that an animal's internal rhythm stays accurately aligned with the external world. It is a continuous, self-correcting system that keeps the entire nocturnal community on a shared schedule, a silent conductor orchestrating the grand symphony of the night. The phenomenon of lunophobia, or the avoidance of moonlight, is a behavioral pattern that creates a large-scale, systemic rhythm in the forest. The monthly waxing and waning of the moon imposes a predictable cycle of risk and safety, causing widespread shifts in activity across many different species. During the bright nights of the full moon, the entire ecosystem can seem to hold its breath, with prey animals lying low and predator activity potentially increasing. This system-wide response to a celestial cycle demonstrates how interconnected the behaviors of different species are, all tied together by the simple presence of light. The way sound travels through the forest at night is a systemic property of the environment, influenced by broad atmospheric conditions. The formation of temperature inversions, where a layer of cool air is trapped beneath a layer of warmer air, can create a duct that allows sounds to travel exceptionally long distances with very little loss of clarity. This atmospheric structure can dramatically expand the communication range of animals like owls or frogs, allowing their calls to be heard miles away. The nightly soundscape is therefore not just a collection of individual noises, but a system whose properties are shaped by the physics of the atmosphere itself. The flow of energy through the nocturnal food web is a key systemic process. It begins with plants and organic matter, which are consumed by a primary layer of herbivores and decomposers. These creatures are then eaten by a secondary layer of predators, and so on up the chain. This entire system of energy transfer happens largely in the dark, parallel to the daytime food web. The abundance and activity of nocturnal insects, for example, form the foundation of a system that supports a vast number of bats, birds, and small mammals, demonstrating the completeness of the nocturnal ecosystem. The dispersal of seeds by nocturnal animals is a critical process that helps to maintain the structure and diversity of the forest over the long term. Animals like fruit bats and some rodents consume fruits and then deposit the seeds in new locations, often far from the parent plant. This system of directed dispersal is highly effective, as the animals tend to travel between good feeding areas, effectively planting new trees in locations that are suitable for growth. This process shapes the future composition of the forest, one journey and one seed at a time. The partitioning of resources between nocturnal and diurnal daytime species is a fundamental organizing principle of the entire forest ecosystem. By being active at different times, these two communities are able to share the same physical space and resources with minimal direct competition. This temporal separation is one of nature's most elegant solutions for increasing biodiversity. It allows two full, complex ecosystems to be layered on top of each other, each with its own intricate web of relationships, effectively doubling the carrying capacity of the habitat. The forest's response to seasonal change is a system-wide phenomenon that profoundly affects nocturnal life. As the days grow shorter and colder in winter, some animals may hibernate, while others adjust their activity patterns, perhaps foraging for longer periods during capora. The night to find enough food. Conversely, the long, warm nights of summer might allow for different behaviors, such as extended periods of social interaction or dispersal of young animals. The entire nocturnal system breathes with the seasons, showing a remarkable degree of flexibility and adaptation to the slow, cyclical changes of the year. The pressure of predation acts as a powerful organizing force across the entire nocturnal ecosystem. The constant risk of being hunted shapes everything from an animal's choice of habitat and its foraging patterns to its physical adaptations and social behaviors. Fear is a systemic architect. This landscape of fear is an invisible but powerful map that overlays the physical one. The presence of a predator can make a resource-rich area effectively unusable, channeling the flow of prey animals along safer corridors and influencing the overall distribution of life throughout the forest. The intricate web of pollination that occurs at night is another key systemic process. The mutualistic relationship between night-blooming plants and their nocturnal pollinators, like moths and bats, ensures the reproductive success of a significant portion of the forest's plant life. This system is highly specialized, with plants often evolving scents, colors, and shapes that are perfectly matched to their preferred pollinator. The health of this nocturnal pollination network is therefore essential for maintaining the botanical diversity and resilience of the entire forest. The interaction between light and an animal's eye is a beautiful mechanism of biological physics. When a photon of light enters a nocturnal eye, it passes through the retina and strikes the tapetum lucidum. This mirrored layer reflects the photon back, giving the photoreceptor cells a second opportunity to absorb its energy and trigger a neural signal. This simple but elegant mechanism effectively doubles the amount of information the eye can extract from a dimly lit scene. It is a process of amplification, a way of making the most out of every single particle of light that the night sky has to offer, turning faint whispers of light into a usable image. The process of echolocation is a marvel of sensory biology, a dynamic interaction between the animal and its environment. A bat generates a high-frequency sound pulse in its larynx, which it then projects out into the world through its mouth or nose. This pulse travels outward, a sphere of sound expanding through the darkness. When this sound wave strikes an object, be it a tree branch or a fluttering mother, portion of its energy is reflected back as an echo. The bat's exquisitely sensitive ears capture this returning echo, and its brain instantly analyzes the time delay, direction, and quality of the sound to construct a detailed, three-dimensional map of its surroundings. The silent flight of an owl is achieved through a precise and subtle manipulation of air. As the owl flaps its wings, the comb-like serrations on the leading edge of its feathers break the rushing air into smaller, more manageable streams called microbi. turbulences. This action helps to smooth the flow of air over the main surface of the wing. Simultaneously, the soft, fringe-like texture of the wing's trailing edge absorbs and deadens any sound that is generated as the air leaves the wing. The result of this two-part mechanism is a near-complete suppression of aerodynamic noise, allowing the owl to move through the night as a silent, airborne predator. The communication of fireflies is a dynamic chemical process that produces light. Within specialized cells, a molecule called luciferin interacts with an enzyme called luciferase. This interaction, in the presence of oxygen and the energy-carrying molecule ATP, releases energy in the form of a photon of light. The firefly can control this reaction with remarkable precision, turning the light on and off by regulating the flow of oxygen to these cells. This on-demand biochemical process allows them to create the specific patterns of flashes, the unique codes of duration and frequency that they use to signal to Segonal, other fireflies in the dark. The way a nocturnal mammal uses its whiskers is an active process of tactile exploration. The animal can subtly move its whiskers back and forth, a behavior known as whisking, to actively scan and feel its environment. The sensitive nerve endings at the base of each whisker detect the slightest contact or even the faint air currents that bounce off nearby objects. The brain then processes this stream of tactile information, integrating the inputs from all the individual whiskers to form a coherent mental picture of the paw. Immediate surroundings. This mechanism allows an animal to perceive the shape, texture, and location of objects without ever needing to see them, a form of close-range, high-B. Resolution touch. The ability of some moths to detect and evade bats is a rapid-fire neurological reflex. When the moth's simple ear, often just a small membrane on its thorax, detects the ultrasonic pulse of a bat, it triggers an immediate nerve signal. This signal bypasses any complex processing and travels directly to the muscles that control the moth's wings. This direct neural pathway allows for an incredibly fast, almost instantaneous reaction. The moth may execute a sudden power dive, a spiral, or an erratic zigzag, all in a desperate attempt to avoid the bat's attack path. It is a simple but highly effective mechanism for survival, a life-or-death interaction that lasts only milliseconds. The act of scent marking is a deliberate and methodical form of chemical communication. A mammal will deposit its unique scent, produced by specialized glands, onto a prominent object in its territory, such as a tree, a rock, or a post. The scent itself is a complex cocktail of volatile chemical compounds called pheromones. As these compounds slowly evaporate into the air, they create a scent plume that can be detected by other animals passing by. The specific chemical signature of the scent conveys a wealth of information, such as the species, sex, social status, and reproductive readiness of the individual who left it, a silent and lasting message left in the landscape. The opening of a night-blooming flower is a carefully timed physiological process. As evening approaches, changes in light and temperature trigger a hormonal response within the plant. This causes specialized cells at the base of the petals to rapidly take in water, increasing the turgor pressure and forcing the blossom to unfurl. Once open, the flower begins to synthesize and release its unique fragrance, a process that is often synchronized to peak during the hours when its specific pollinators are most active. This entire mechanism is a beautiful example of a plant's ability to interact with the temporal patterns of its environment. The way a crepuscular animal judges the right time to emerge is a balancing act between internal and external cues. Its internal biological clock provides a general window of time around dawn and dusk. However, the final decision to leave its shelter is often fine-tuned by its direct perception of the ambient light levels. Specialized light-sensitive cells, not just in the eyes, but sometimes even in the skin or deep within the brain, monitor the fading light of dusk or the first hints of dawn. When the light reaches a certain threshold dim enough to provide cover, but bright enough to see it triggers the behavioral shift from resting to activity. The navigation of a migratory bird using the stars is a remarkable cognitive mechanism. The bird possesses an innate star map in its brain, which is calibrated during its youth by observing the rotation of the constellations around the North Star, the one fixed point in the night sky. During migration, the bird continually references the position of these constellations relative to its internal sense of direction. By integrating this celestial information with its internal magnetic compass, it can maintain a precise bearing over thousands of miles, a stunning act of computational biology unfolding in the quiet of the night sky. The process of hearing in a nocturnal animal like a fox or an owl is often enhanced by the physical shape of their head and ears. Many species have a facial disc of stiff feathers, or a ruff of fur that acts like a satellite dish, collecting faint sounds and funneling them toward the ear openings. Furthermore, the ears are often asymmetrically placed, with one being slightly higher than the other. This subtle difference in position means that a sound will arrive at each ear at a slightly different time and with a slightly different intensity. The brain processes these tiny differences to calculate the precise location of the sound's source, both horizontally and vertically, with incredible accuracy. The way a predator with binocular vision calculates distance is a form of neural trigonometry. Because its eyes are set apart, each one views an object from a slightly different angle, capturing two disparate images. The brain receives these two images and compares the degree of difference, or disparity, between them. The greater the disparity, the closer the object is. The brain instantly performs this calculation, translating the difference between the two images into a precise perception of depth. This mechanism is what allows an owl to accurately judge the distance to a mouse on the forest floor, a vital calculation for a successful strike. The vertical slit pupil of a gecko or a cat has a unique optical property that enhances its ability to focus. Unlike a circular pupil, a slit can provide a sharp focus for vertical lines while simultaneously allowing other contours to remain less focused. This is due to a phenomenon called multifocal optics. The pupil can effectively operate with different focal lengths at the same time, allowing the animal to see a range of distances clearly without needing to constantly readjust. This mechanism is particularly useful for an ambush predator, enabling it to keep the environment in focus while it waits for prey to appear. The interaction between moonlight and the forest canopy creates a complex and dynamic light environment known as moon dapple. As the moon moves across the sky and as leaves flutter in the breeze, the patches of light on the forest floor are constantly shifting and changing in their intensity. Location. For a small prey animal, this moving patchwork of light and shadow presents a significant challenge. A spot that was safely dark one moment could be brightly illuminated the next, increasing its risk of being seen. This requires constant vigilance and adjustment, a medium-scale interaction between the sky, the trees, and the forest floor. The way sound propagates through a forest is influenced by the interaction between sound waves and the physical objects in the environment. Low-frequency sounds, with their long wavelengths, are better able to bend around obstacles like trees and travel farther with less degradation. High-frequency sounds, with their short wavelengths, tend to be scattered and absorbed by vegetation. This is why the deep hoot of an owl can carry for miles, while the high-pitched chirps of a cricket are much more localized. Animals have evolved their calls to match these physical principles, choosing frequencies that are best suited for the distance and clarity of communication they need to achieve. The foraging strategy of a badger is a learned interaction with its environment. While instinct plays a role, badgers are known to develop and remember specific routes through their territory that have proven to be rich in food resources, such as gene. Earthworms. They will revisit these same patches of ground night after night. This behavior reflects a cognitive process of learning and memory. The badger creates a mental map of prey availability, allowing it to exploit its territory in the most efficient way possible. This learned foraging route is a mechanism for turning a random search for food into a predictable and reliable harvest. The movement of terrestrial salamanders to the surface of the forest floor is a behavior directly regulated by microclimate. Their moist skin is highly sensitive to desiccation, so they rely on a high humidity environment to survive. After a rain or on a particularly damp night, the moisture level in the leaf litter and the air just above it rises. When the humidity reaches a critical threshold, it triggers a physiological response that allows the salamander to safely leave its burrow or its shelter under austerity. Lock. This mechanism directly links their surface activity, and thus their feeding opportunities, to the specific weather conditions of the night. The avoidance of artificial light by some bat species is a mechanism rooted in perceived risk. Even very low levels of light, measured far from the source, can create a zone that bats will actively avoid. This is not because the light blinds them, but likely because it disrupts their natural camouflage and makes them feel more exposed to their own predators, such as owls. This creates what are known as distance effects, where the ecological impact of a single light source extends far beyond the visibly illuminated patch. The light acts as a phantom predator, creating a barrier of fear that can fragment the bat's habitat and restrict their movements. Not all bats, however, respond to artificial light in the same way. The interaction is species-specific. Some fast-flying, open-air bat species have actually learned to take advantage of artificial lights, which attract large concentrations of moths and other insects, creating a reliable and easy-to-exploit feeding opportunity. In contrast, slower-flying species that are adapted to cluttered, dark environments tend to be highly light-averse. This difference in response creates a sorting effect, where artificial lighting can actually change the composition of the local bat community, favoring some species at the expense of others. The influence of moonlight on the behavior of forest animals is mediated by the structure of the vegetation. In a forest with a dense understory, a prey animal might feel secure enough to remain active even on a brightly lit night, as the thick cover provides ample places to hide. However, in a more open forest, that same amount of moonlight could create a high-risk environment, causing the animal to drastically reduce its activity. This interaction shows that nightly behavior is not determined by a single factor, but by a combination of environmental conditions, in this case, the interplay between light from above and cover on the ground. The ability of a nocturnal animal to see in low light begins at the molecular level, with the photoreceptor cells in its retina, known as rods. Each rod cell contains millions of molecules of a light-sensitive pigment called rhodopsin. When a single photon of light strikes a rhodopsin molecule, it causes the molecule to change its shape. This subtle change in molecular conformation triggers a biochemical cascade, a chain reaction that amplifies the initial tiny signal. A single photon's worth of energy is magnified into a full-fledged electrical nerve impulse, a message that is then sent to the brain. It is here, at this microscopic molecular level, that the first act of night vision truly occurs. The enchanting glow of a firefly is the result of a precise and elegant chemical reaction. It all centers around a molecule called luciferin. In the presence of the enzyme luciferase, oxygen and an energy-carrying molecule called adenosine triphosphate ATP, luciferin is oxidized. This reaction releases energy not as heat, but in the form of a particle of light, a photon. The specific structure of the luciferin molecule determines the color of the light produced, which can range from yellow to green to pale red. The entire process is a near-perfectly efficient conversion of chemical energy into light. The sense of smell, so crucial for nocturnal life, operates at the level of individual molecules. When an animal sniffs the air, it draws in volatile chemical compounds that are floating in the environment. These odorant molecules travel to the nasal cavity, where they dissolve in a layer of mucus and come into contact with olfactory receptor neurons. Each receptor neuron is equipped with a specific type of protein on its surface that is shaped to bind with a particular type of odorant molecule, like a key P, fitting into a lock. When this binding occurs, it triggers an electrical signal, which is then sent to the brain for interpretation. A single scent is actually a complex mosaic of thousands of these tiny molecular interactions. The mechanism of hearing also begins with microscopic actions. A sound wave traveling through the air is a vibration, a wave of pressure. When this wave reaches the ear, it causes the eardrum to vibrate. This vibration is then transferred through a series of 3 tiny bones in the middle, ear the smallest bones in the mammalian body. These bones act as a lever system, amplifying the vibration and transmitting it to the fluid-filled cochlea of the inner ear. Inside the cochlea are thousands of microscopic hair cells. The vibration of the fluid causes these tiny hairs to bend, which in turn opens up ion channels in the cell membrane, creating the electrical signal that the pal-bam-pow brain perceives as sound. The remarkable ability of an owl's wing to muffle sound is a product of its microscopic structure. The leading-edge feathers have tiny, stiff barbules that act as a fine-toothed comb, breaking up the single large rush of air into many smaller, less energetic microturbulences. Furthermore, the surfaces of the owl's flight feathers are covered in a soft, velvety texture. At a microscopic level, this velvety pile acts as an acoustic dampener, absorbing the high-frequency sounds that are generated by the airflow. It is the combination of these tiny structural details that achieves the wing's signature silence. A bat's echolocation call is not a simple noise. It is a highly structured pulse of sound. The call is composed of a fundamental frequency and a series of harmonics or overtones. The bat can precisely control the frequency, duration, and intensity of these calls to suit its environment and its task. For instance, a bat flying in an open area might use a long, low-frequency call to detect objects far away. As it gets closer to a target or enters a cluttered space, it will switch to a rapid series of short, high-frequency calls, which provide a much more detailed, high-E resolution image of its immediate surroundings. The very waveform of the sound is a finely crafted tool. The way a moth's ear responds to a bat's call is a marvel of biomechanics. The ear is a small patch of tympanic membrane, a thin, taut sheet of cuticle that vibrates when struck by sound waves. Attached to the back of this membrane is a single auditory neuron. When a high-frequency sound, like a bat's cry, causes the membrane to vibrate, it stretches this neuron. The stretching physically pulls open ion channels on the neuron's surface, triggering a nerve impulse. The simplicity of this 2-part sister membrane and neuron is what allows for its incredibly rapid, life-saving response. The vertical slit pupil of a nocturnal predator is controlled by 2 distinct sets of muscles within the iris. To close the pupil, a sphincter muscle, which encircles the pupil like a drawstring, contracts, pulling the slit into a tiny, narrow line. To open the pupil wide, a second set of dilator muscles, which radiate outwards from the pupil like the spokes of a wheel, contracts. This action pulls the iris back and opens the slit to its maximum extent, allowing the greatest possible amount of light to enter the eye. The precise interplay of these two microscopic muscle groups gives the slit pupil its remarkable range. The prehensile tail of an opossum owes its grasping ability to its unique anatomical structure. The tail is long and muscular, with a flexible, naked, and highly textured gripping surface on its underside. This surface is covered in tiny dermal ridges, similar to the fingerprints of a human. These microscopic ridges dramatically increase the coefficient of friction, providing a secure grip even on smooth bark. The combination of strong, flexible muscles and this high-friction surface is what allows the tail to function effectively as a fifth limb for climbing and balancing in the dark. The powerful digging action of a badger is made possible by the robust structure of its claws and the bones of its forelimbs. The claws are long, thick, and non-retractable, providing a set of permanently deployed digging tools. At a microscopic level, the keratin that forms the claw is incredibly dense and resistant to abrasion. The bones of the lower leg are short and stout, and they are attached to powerful muscles that can generate immense force. The entire forelimb is a highly specialized biological excavator, a piece of small-scale engineering perfected for a life of moving earth. The silent step of a fox or a cat is due to the structure of its paw pads. The pads are made of a thick layer of fatty connective tissue, covered by a tough but pliable layer of pigmented skin. This composition makes them excellent shock absorbers. When the paw strikes the ground, the pad compresses, dissipating the energy and sound of the impact. At a microscopic level, the texture of the pad also helps to create a soft, non-slip contact with the ground surface. It is a natural, built-in silencer. The ability of a salamander to breathe through its skin is a process called cutaneous respiration. Its skin is thin and highly permeable, and it is rich with a network of tiny blood vessels called capillaries that lie very close to the surface. This structure allows gases to diffuse directly between the environment and the bloodstream. Oxygen from the air or water passes through the moist surface of the skin and into the capillaries, while carbon dioxide passes out. This microscopic gas exchange is vital, especially for species that lack lungs entirely. The attraction of a moth to a night-blooming flower is guided by a trail of scent molecules. The flower releases a plume of volatile organic compounds into the night air. The moth's antennae, which are covered in thousands of tiny hair-like sensory structures called sensilla, are exquisitely tuned to detect these specific molecules. When even a few molecules of the flower's perfume bind to the receptors on these sensilla, it triggers a nerve signal. The moth then flies upwind, following the concentration gradient of the scent plume, a microscopic breadcrumb trail leading it directly to its source of nectar. The process of decomposition in the leaf litter is driven by a microscopic army of bacteria and fungi. These microorganisms secrete powerful enzymes into their immediate surroundings. These enzymes are specialized proteins that act as biological catalysts, breaking down the large, complex molecules of dead plant matter, like cellulose and lignin. The bacteria and fungi then absorb the smaller, simpler molecules that are released by this enzymatic action, using them for their own growth and reproduction. This constant, microscopic process of decay is what fuels the entire nutrient cycle of the forest floor. The eyes on the wings of some moths, like the polyphemus moth, are not eyes at all, but intricate patterns of pigmented scales. Each scale is a tiny, flattened outgrowth of the wing membrane, layered like shingles on a roof. The color of each scale is determined by the specific pigment it contains or by its microscopic surface structure, which can refract light to create iridescent colors. The brain of the moth is hardwired to arrange these millions of individual, single-colored pixels into a large, complex image that mimics the eye of a much larger animal, such as an owl. This microscopic artistry creates a macroscopic illusion designed to startle and deter a potential predator. The internal biological clock that governs nocturnality is, at its core, a molecular machine. Inside each cell, a set of clock genes work in a complex feedback loop. These genes produce proteins, which then accumulate in the cell. Once the concentration of these proteins reaches a certain level, they act to switch off the very genes that produced them. As the proteins then naturally degrade over time, their concentration drops and the genes are switched back on, starting the cycle anew. This elegant molecular loop takes approximately 24 hours to complete, providing a tiny cell-level clock that keeps the entire organism synchronized with the rhythm of the day. The transmission of a nerve signal, the very basis of all sensory perception and thought, is an electrochemical process. A neuron at rest maintains a negative electrical charge inside its membrane. When it is stimulated, tiny pores in the membrane called ion channels fly open. This allows positively charged ions, like sodium, to rush into the cell, momentarily reversing the electrical charge. This wave of electrical change, called an action potential, then travels down the length of the neuron like a lit fuse. It is a microscopic pulse of electricity, the fundamental currency of information in the nervous system. The way a gecko can cling to a perfectly smooth surface is a wonder of small-scale physics. The undersides of a gecko's toes are covered in millions of microscopic hair-like structures called setae. Each of these setae, in turn, branches into hundreds of even tinier nanoscale tips called spatula. This incredible proliferation of tiny contact points allows the gecko to take advantage of a weak intermolecular force known as the van der Waals force. The collective strength of these billions of tiny, weak attractions is more than enough to support the gecko's entire body weight, even when hanging upside down. The light produced by a glowworm is a form of chemical communication that operates at a very personal scale. The glow is a signal to potential mates, but it can also be a warning to predators that the glowworm is unpalatable. This is because their bodies contain defensive chemicals. This dual-purpose signal is a highly efficient evolutionary strategy. The same metabolic process that creates the visual signal for attraction also serves as an honest advertisement of the insect's toxicity, a small-scale, multi-layered message broadcast into the darkness. The quiet rustle of a mouse in the leaves is a complex acoustic event at the small scale. Each tiny footstep and the slight brushing of its body against a dry leaf generates a burst of high-frequency sound. These sounds are subtle and short-lived, but for a predator with sensitive hearing, they are a clear signature of prey. An owl's brain can analyze the subtle differences in the arrival time and intensity of these tiny sounds at each of its ears to pinpoint the mouse's location with astonishing accuracy. It is a drama that unfolds at the threshold of silence, a world of microscopic sounds that holds the key to survival. Our understanding of the nocturnal world is often built upon careful observation and clever experimentation. To study how animals behave in the dark, researchers use specialized equipment like infrared cameras and thermal imaging devices. These tools allow them to see and record the movements of animals without disturbing them with visible light. This non-invasive method of observation has been crucial for revealing the secret lives of forest creatures. It allows us to watch a fox hunt or a deer forage as if we were standing right there, providing a clear window into a world that would otherwise remain completely hidden from our eyes. Scientists have used field experiments to directly test the impact of artificial light on nocturnal animals. In some studies, they have set up temporary low-intensity lights in a forest. and then monitored the activity of bats in the surrounding area. These experiments have repeatedly shown that even a small amount of unfamiliar light can cause some bat species to avoid an area entirely. These controlled studies provide strong evidence that light pollution is not just an aesthetic issue, but a genuine ecological disturbance. By manipulating the light environment and measuring the response, researchers can directly quantify the distance effects of light, showing how it can create invisible barriers and shrink the available habitat for light-sensitive species. To understand how nocturnal animals navigate, scientists have conducted clever experiments that manipulate their sensory cues. For example, in studies with night-migrating birds, researchers have placed them in a planetarium, where they can control the patterns of the stars on the domed ceiling. By shifting the star patterns, they have been able to show that the birds will change their orientation to follow the artificial sky. These experiments have been instrumental in proving that birds do, in fact, possess an internal star compass that they use for long-distance navigation. Similarly, to test for the presence of a magnetic sense, researchers have placed nocturnal animals in environments where they can artificially alter the magnetic field. By using powerful coils to shift the direction of magnetic north, they have observed corresponding changes in the animal's preferred direction of travel. These experimental manipulations provide compelling evidence that some creatures possess a magnetic sense, a kind of internal compass that works even on cloudy nights when the stars are hidden. It is the sensory world that we are only just beginning to understand, revealed through these ingenious detection-based studies. The study of sound in the nocturnal forest often involves the use of acoustic monitoring devices. Researchers will place arrays of sensitive microphones throughout a habitat to create a continuous 24-hour recording of the soundscape. This allows them to listen in on the conversations of the night. By analyzing the spectrograms, or visual representations of these sound recordings, they can identify the calls of different species, measure their activity, patterns, and even study how they interact with one another. This method has revealed the complexity of acoustic communities, from the chorus of frogs by a pond to the territorial duets of owls. Ecological studies on nocturnal sound transmission often involve experiments that test how different frequencies behave in a real-world forest. Environment. A researcher might set up a speaker that broadcasts pure tones at various frequencies and then use a microphone to measure how well the sound is received at different power, distances, and locations. These tests have confirmed that low-frequency sounds travel much farther and with less distortion than high-frequency sounds in a cluttered forest. This kind of experimental data helps us to understand why animals have evolved the specific call frequencies they use, a case of their communication being perfectly tuned to the physics of their environment. Our knowledge of what nocturnal animals eat is often gathered through the painstaking analysis of their droppings, or scat. By collecting these samples and carefully dissecting them in a lab, researchers can identify the undigested remains of their meals. This might include the tiny bones of mice, the iridescent wing fragments of beetles, or the hard outer shells of seeds. This forensic approach to ecology provides a direct and unambiguous record of an animal's diet, revealing the intricate links of the nocturnal food web, 1D, meal at a time. To track the movements of nocturnal animals over large areas, scientists use radiotelemetry. This involves capturing an animal and fitting it with a small, lightweight collar that contains a radio transmitter. The transmitter emits a unique, pulsing signal that can be picked up by a researcher with a directional antenna. By taking bearings on the signal from multiple locations, the researcher can triangulate the animal's position on a map. Following an animal night after night in this way allows scientists to map out its home range, identify its preferred travel corridors, and understand how it uses its landscape, all without ever needing to see it directly. More recently, GPS technology has been miniaturized to the point where it can be used to track even relatively small animals. A GPS collar records the animal's precise location at regular intervals and can either store the data for later retrieval or transmit it in near real time via satellite. This technology has revolutionized the study of animal movement, providing incredibly detailed and accurate data on a scale that was previously unimaginable. It allows researchers to follow the nightly journeys of an animal with breathtaking precision, revealing the hidden paths and secret places of the nocturnal world. To study the activity patterns of very small creatures, like salamanders or beetles, researchers sometimes use a clever technique involving fluorescent powder. They will capture an animal and gently dust it with a brightly colored, non-toxic powder that glows under ultraviolet light. After releasing the animal, they can return later that night with a UV lamp and follow the faint, glowing trail that the creature has left behind on the leaves and soil. This simple but effective method allows them to map the fine-scale movements of these tiny animals and understand how they interact with their microhabitat. The surface activity of terrestrial salamanders is often used by researchers as a proxy or an indicator of their feeding opportunities. The assumption is that the more time they spend above ground, the more chances they have to encounter the small invertebrates that they prey on. This is why a forest can feel full of salamanders on one damp night and almost empty on a dry one. The population size hasn't changed, but their behavior has. And this measurable change in surface activity provides a useful, detection-based way to study their response to environmental conditions like humidity. To understand how animals perceive their world, researchers sometimes conduct preference tests. For example, to test whether a creature is attracted to a particular scent, they might set up an experimental arena with 2 or more choices, each associated with a different odor, and then observe which one the animal spends more time investigating. This type of behavioral experiment allows the animal to tell the researcher what it perceives and what it prefers. It is a way of asking a question directly to the subject of study, a method for turning a scientific hypothesis into a choice that the animal itself can make. In some bat studies, researchers have used a technique called playback to test how bats respond to the calls of their own species or of their predators. They will record a specific sound, such as the social call of another bat or the echolocation sequence of a hunting bat, and then play it back through a specialized TAR, ultrasonic speaker in the forest. By observing the reactions of wild bats to these recorded sounds, they can learn a great deal about the meaning and function of different calls. It is a way of participating in the conversation of the night, an experiment that allows us to probe the acoustic world of these remarkable creatures. The study of bat activity is often influenced by the specific methods used for detection. Different types of bat detectors are sensitive to different frequency ranges. A detector that is tuned to lower frequencies might be excellent at picking up certain species, but completely miss others that call at a higher pitch. This means that our scientific picture of a bat community can be biased by the tools we use to observe it. A comprehensive study requires the use of multiple detection methods to ensure that all members of the acoustic community are accounted for, from the lowest to the MCRA, highest frequencies. Researchers have found that even our own human-based methods of measuring the forest can influence its nocturnal inhabitants. Studies using camera traps, motion-activated cameras that take a photo of any animal that passes by, have sometimes found that the faint infrared flash or the subtle click of the shutter is enough to alter an animal's behavior. This demonstrates the extreme sensitivity of some nocturnal creatures to any unusual sensory input. It also serves as a constant reminder for scientists to be mindful of their own presence and the potential impact of their tools, a lesson in humility learned from the bar. required subjects of their study. Analysis of the timing of salamander emergence has shown that their surface activity often increases in the hours just after sunset. This pattern has been carefully documented through timed surveys, where researchers repeatedly walk a set route or transect, counting every salamander they see. This data links their nightly behavior to both the rise in humidity that occurs after dark and the reduction in the drying effect of the sun on the forest floor. The simple, methodical act of counting animals over time reveals a clear and meaningful pattern, a connection between the animal and the subtle physics of its Tao environment. When studying how bats navigate through forests, researchers have noted that their activity is not random, but is influenced by the physical structure of the habitat. By using bat detectors to map out areas of high and low activity, they have found that many species show a clear preference for straighter, less cluttered commuting routes. This detection-based work suggests that, for many bats, the selection of a nightly travel route is driven by a desire for navigational simplicity and a need to manage the risk of collision. The resulting maps of bat activity reveal these invisible highways in the sky, pathways shaped by the bat's perception of the forest's architecture. Studies on badgers have used a combination of tracking and direct observation to describe their methodical foraging strategy. This research has shown that badgers are capable of revisiting the same specific feeding zones night after night, a behavior that is particularly effective when their prey, like earthworms, is concentrated in predictable patches. The repeated, documented use of the same piece of ground is strong evidence of a stable and reliable food source, as well as the badger's ability to learn and remember efficient foraging routes. The data collected by researchers reveals a creature that is not just wandering, but systematically harvesting its territory. The way we frame our scientific questions about the mite is, itself, a kind of detection method. For a long time, research focused on night as a single, uniform condition. But as our tools and methods have become more sophisticated, we have started to see that night conditions are actually multidimensional. Modern research repeatedly shows that we must consider the complex interplay of light level, humidity, temperature, and landscape structure. Because all these factors interact, our studies must be designed to account for this complexity, recognizing that each night is a unique combination of variables, a new experimental trial in the grand, ongoing study of the forest. Some of the most compelling evidence for how nocturnal animals navigate comes from displacement experiments. A researcher will capture an animal, such as a seabird that nests on a particular island, transport it to a distant, unfamiliar location, and then release it. The fact that these animals are often able to find their way back to their home colony, sometimes across hundreds of miles of open ocean, is a powerful demonstration of their navigational abilities. While we may not fully understand the mechanism, the result of the experiment, the successful return, is undeniable proof that it exists. The world of a nocturnal animal is experienced through a different set of senses than our own. In the low light of the forest, vision becomes less reliable. So many creatures have come to depend more heavily on their other faculties. Their sense of hearing and their sense of smell are often exceptionally well developed, allowing them to navigate, find food, and communicate in a world of shadows. This profound reliance on non-visual information shapes their entire existence. The rustle of a leaf, the scent of a predator on the breeze, the feel of the ground underfoot, these are the primary colors of their sensory palette. This shift away from sight has led to the evolution of some truly remarkable biological adaptations for perceiving the world through sound, scent, and touch. The retina of a nocturnal eye is a masterpiece of biological engineering for low-light conditions. It is densely packed with highly sensitive photoreceptor cells called rods, which are responsible for vision in dim light. These cells are far more numerous than the cone cells, which are responsible for color vision in bright light. This heavy emphasis on rod cells gives nocturnal animals their extraordinary sensitivity to faint light, but it comes at a cost. Their vision often lacks the sharp detail and vibrant color that cone-rich daytime vision provides. It is a world painted in shades of gray, but one where the slightest movement or the faintest glimmer of light is immediately apparent. The hearing of an owl is not just sensitive, it is stereoscopic. This is made possible by the fact that their ear openings are positioned asymmetrically on their head, with one being slightly higher than the other. This subtle anatomical difference is the key to their incredible ability to pinpoint the source of a sound. Because of this asymmetry, a sound will arrive at each ear at an infinitesimally different moment in time. The owl's brain is exquisitely tuned to process this tiny time lag, along with any difference in volume, to calculate the precise location of the sound's origin in three-dimensional space, allowing it to strike its unseen prey with pinpoint accuracy. The paws of a raccoon are not just for walking, they are one of its primary sensory organs. The front paws are incredibly dexterous and are packed with an exceptionally high concentration of nerve endings, making them far more sensitive to touch than the paws of most other mammals. This turns their paws into a powerful tool for exploring their environment. Before eating, a raccoon will often douse its food in water, and while this looks like washing, it is actually a way to enhance this sense of touch. The water softens the outer layer of the skin on its paws, increasing their sensitivity and allowing the raccoon to feel the fine details of an object and identify it by touch alone. Many species of nocturnal snakes, such as pit vipers, possess a sixth sense, the ability to detect infrared radiation or heat. They do this using a pair of special sensory organs, known as pit organs, located on their face between the eye and the nostril. These pits are lined with a membrane that is densely packed with heat-sensitive nerve receptors. This remarkable adaptation allows the snake to see a thermal image of its surroundings, overlaid upon its normal vision. A warm-blooded mouse or rabbit stands out as a bright, glowing shape against the cooler background of the night, allowing the snake to detect and strike its prey with cry. Incredible accuracy, even in complete darkness. The antennae of a male moth are intricate and beautiful structures that are, in essence, a pair of powerful noses. They are covered in thousands of tiny hollow hairs called chemoreceptors, each one tuned to detect the specific pheromone molecules released by a female of Tau, his species. This sensory system is so incredibly sensitive that a male moth can detect just a few molecules of a female scent from up to a mile away. He will then fly upwind, following this faint and invisible trail through the night, a testament to the astonishing power of this form of chemical perception. The whiskers of a cat or fox are not hair, but highly sensitive tactile instruments called vibrissae. Each whisker is set deep within a follicle that is surrounded by a capsule of blood and a rich network of nerves. When the tip of a whisker brushes against an object, the slight vibration is transferred down the shaft and amplified by the fluid-filled capsule. This amplified signal is then registered by the surrounding nerves, providing the animal with precise information about the location, size, and texture objects in its immediate vicinity. This allows a cat to determine if it can fit through a narrow opening without ever seeing it, a perfect adaptation for moving through the cluttered and dark spaces of the night. The ability of an owl to rotate its head with such incredible freedom is due to a unique set of physiological adaptations. They have 14 vertebrae in their neck, twice as many as a human, which gives them a much greater range of motion. they can turn their head up to 270 degrees in either direction. Furthermore, their circulatory system is adapted to handle these extreme rotations without cutting off blood flow to the brain. They have special reservoir-like structures in their arteries that can hold a supply of blood, and the channels in their vertebrae through which the arteries pass are much larger than the arteries themselves, giving them plenty of room to move without being pinched. The cool temperatures of the night offer a significant thermoregulatory benefit for many animals. By being active after dark, they avoid the metabolic cost of having to keep their bodies cool in the heat of the day. This allows them to conserve both energy and water, which is particularly important in arid environments. This passive cooling effect means that nocturnal animals can often sustain longer periods of activity, such as foraging or searching for a mate, than their daytime sable counterparts. The cool night air is a resource in itself, a gentle and supportive medium in which to live and move. The sensitive paws of a badger, equipped with long, sturdy claws, are a primary tool for its nocturnal life. These claws are not just for defense, they are highly adapted for digging. Their shape and thickness make them perfect for breaking through hard soil and tearing apart rotten logs in search of insects, worms, and other invertebrates. This physical adaptation is the key to the badger's foraging success. It allows them to access a rich source of food that is hidden just beneath the surface of the forest floor, a subterranean larder that is inaccessible to most other PB creatures. The tapetum lucidum, the reflective layer in the eyes of many nocturnal animals, is not just a simple mirror. It is a highly organized structure composed of crystalline plates or fine fibers of collagen. The precise arrangement and composition of these elements are what determine the reflective properties of the layer. The color of the eyeshine we see, which can range from blue to green to yellow, is a result of the specific way these microscopic structures interfere with the light waves, a phenomenon known as thin film interference. The structure is finely tuned to reflect the wavelengths of light that are most abundant in the animal's natural nighttime environment. The pupils of many nocturnal animals are capable of an incredible range of dilation. They can constrict to a tiny pinpoint in bright light to protect the sensitive retina, and then open up so wide in the dark that they seem to take up the entire surface of the eye. This extreme adaptability is controlled by a powerful set of muscles in the iris. It allows the animal to function effectively across a vast spectrum of light conditions, from the bright glare of a full moon to the deep, almost total darkness of a new pent key moon in a dense forest. The ability to produce sound for echolocation is a demanding physiological feat. A bat generates its ultrasonic calls using its larynx or voice box, which is controlled by some of the fastest contracting muscles ever documented in a breed. Mammal. These muscles can contract and relax up to 200 times per second. This incredible speed is what allows the bat to produce the rapid series of clicks and calls needed for high-resolution navigation. The entire process is also metabolically expensive, requiring a significant amount of energy to power these super-fast vocal muscles through the night. Many nocturnal creatures possess a vomeronasal organ, also known as Jacobson's organ. This is an auxiliary olfactory sense organ located in the roof of the mouth. It is used to detect specific, heavy, moisture-borne chemical cues, such as the pheromones involved in mating or social recognition. When a snake flicks its tongue, it is not tasting the air, it is collecting these chemical particles and transferring them to the opening of the vomeronasal organ. This gives the animal a much more detailed and nuanced chemical picture of its environment, a layer of information that is separate from what it perceives through its nose. The permeable skin of a forest amphibian, such as a salamander, is a double-edged sword. While it allows them to absorb oxygen directly from the moist night air, It also makes them extremely vulnerable to dehydration. Their entire physiology is a delicate balancing act of maintaining moisture. To this end, they produce a layer of mucus on their skin that helps to slow evaporation, and their behavior is tightly linked to ambient humidity levels. They are living barometers, their variability to be active tied directly to the amount of water vapor in the air around them. The slow, deliberate movement of a foraging opossum is a behavioral adaptation that helps it to conserve energy. As a marsupial, it has a lower metabolic rate than most other mammals of a similar size, meaning it operates on a tighter energy budget. By moving slowly and methodically, it minimizes its energy expenditure while it searches for food. This, combined with its incredibly varied, omnivorous diet, allows it to thrive in a wide range of habitats, a quiet and successful strategy for a life lived at a slower pace. The ears of a moth are among the simplest in the animal kingdom, yet they are remarkably effective. In many species, the ear, or tympanal organ, consists of just a thin membrane of cuticle stretched over an air sac, with only 1 to 4 auditory dar. Neurons attached to it. Despite this simplicity, these ears are exquisitely sensitive to the high-frequency cries of bats. They provide a basic but life-saving piece of information: the presence of a predator. The system is a beautiful example of evolutionary efficiency, providing the maximum amount of critical information with the absolute minimum of anatomical complexity. The deep, booming call of a large owl is a product of its vocal anatomy. The sound is produced in its syrinx, the avian equivalent of the larynx, which is located at the base of its trachea. The low frequency of the call is a result of the large size of its resonating chambers and the slow vibration of its vocal membranes. This low-frequency sound is perfectly adapted for long-distance communication in a forested environment, as the long sound waves are able to travel around obstacles like trees without losing much energy. The owl's very voice is shaped by the physics of the world it inhabits. The quiet footfalls of a fox are made possible by the unique anatomy of its paws. The pads are surrounded by fur, which helps to muffle the sound of its steps, and it has a gait that is very direct and precise. It often places its hind paw directly into the track left by its front paw, minimizing noise and disturbance. This precise way of walking, combined with its soft padded feet, allows it to move through the undergrowth with exceptional stealth. It is a whole-body adaptation for silent movement, a physical expression of the fox's role as a quiet and careful hunter of the night. At the very heart of all nocturnal behavior is the master biological clock, located in a tiny region of the brain's hypothalamus called suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. This small cluster of neurons is the central pacemaker that synchronizes the daily rhythms of the entire body. The SCN receives direct input from the eyes about the ambient light levels, which it uses to keep itself aligned with the external 24-hour day. It then sends out signals to the rest of the body, coordinating cycles of hormone release, body temperature, and metabolism, ensuring that the animal's entire physiology is perfectly prepared for the challenges and opportunities of the night. The world of the nocturnal animal is experienced through a different set of senses than our own. In the low light of the forest, vision becomes less reliable, so many creatures have come to depend more heavily on their other faculties. Their sense of hearing and their sense of smell are often exceptionally well developed, allowing them to navigate, find food, and communicate in a world of shadows. This profound reliance on non-visual information shapes their entire existence. The rustle of a leaf, the scent of a predator on the breeze, the feel of the ground underfoot, these are the primary colors of their sensory palette. This shift away from sight has led to the evolution of some truly remarkable biological adaptations for perceiving the world through sound, scent, and touch. The retina of a nocturnal eye is a masterpiece of biological engineering for low-light conditions. It is densely packed with highly sensitive photoreceptor cells called rods, which are responsible for vision in dim light. These cells are far more numerous than the cone cells, which are responsible for color vision in bright light. This heavy emphasis on rod cells gives nocturnal animals their extraordinary sensitivity to faint light, but it comes at a cost. Their vision often lacks the sharp detail and vibrant color that cone-rich daytime vision provides. It is a world painted in shades of gray, but one where the slightest movement or the faintest glimmer of light is immediately apparent. The hearing of an owl is not just sensitive, it is stereoscopic. This is made possible by the fact that their ear openings are positioned asymmetrically on their head, with one being slightly higher than the other. This subtle anatomical difference is the key to their incredible ability to pinpoint the source of a sound. Because of this asymmetry, a sound will arrive at each ear at an infinitesimally different moment in time. The owl's brain is exquisitely tuned to process this tiny time lag, along with any difference in volume, to calculate the precise location of the sound's origin bow in three-dimensional space, allowing it to strike its unseen prey with pinpoint accuracy. The paws of a raccoon are not just for walking. They are one of its primary sensory organs. The front paws are incredibly dexterous and are packed with an exceptionally high concentration of nerve endings, making them far more sensitive to touch than the paws of papillae. Most other mammals, this turns their paws into a powerful tool for exploring their environment. Before eating, a raccoon will often douse its food in water, and while this looks like washing, it is actually a way to enhance this sense of touch. The water softens the outer layer of the skin on its paws, increasing their sensitivity and allowing the raccoon to feel the fine details of an object and identify it by touch alone. Many species of nocturnal snakes, such as pit vipers, possess a sixth sense, the ability to detect infrared radiation or heat. They do this using a pair of special sensory organs, known as pit organs, located on their face between the eye and the nostril. These pits are lined with a membrane that is densely packed with heat-sensitive nerve receptors. This remarkable adaptation allows the snake to see a thermal image of its surroundings, overlaid upon its normal vision. A warm-blooded mouse or rabbit stands out as a bright, glowing shape against the cooler background of the night, allowing the snake to detect and strike its prey with incredible accuracy, even in complete darkness. The antennae of a male moth are intricate and beautiful structures that are, in essence, a pair of powerful noses. They are covered in thousands of tiny, hollow hairs called chemoreceptors, each one tuned to detect the specific pheromone molecules released by a female of Tema, his species. This sensory system is so incredibly sensitive that a male moth can detect just a few molecules of a female's scent from up to a mile away. He will then fly upwind, following this faint and invisible trail through the night, a testament to the astonishing power of this form of chemical perception. The whiskers of a cat or fox are not hair, but highly sensitive tactile instruments called vibrissae. Each whisker is set deep within a follicle that is surrounded by a capsule of blood and a rich network of nerves. When the tip of a whisker brushes against an object, the slight vibration is transferred down the shaft and amplified by the fluid-filled capsule. This amplified signal is then registered by the surrounding nerves, providing the animal with precise information about the location, size, and texture objects in its immediate vicinity. This allows a cat to determine if it can fit through a narrow opening without ever seeing it, a perfect adaptation for moving through the cluttered and dark spaces of the night. The ability of an owl to rotate its head with such incredible freedom is due to a unique set of physiological adaptations. They have 14 vertebrae in their neck, twice as many as a human, which gives them a much greater range of motion. They can turn their head up to 270 degrees in either direction. Furthermore, their circulatory system is adapted to handle these extreme rotations without cutting off blood flow to the brain. They have special reservoir-like structures in their arteries that can hold a supply of blood. And the channels in their vertebrae through which the arteries pass are much larger than the arteries themselves, giving them plenty of room to move without being pinched. The cool temperatures of the night offer a significant thermoregulatory benefit for many animals. By being active after dark, they avoid the metabolic cost of having to keep their bodies cool in the heat of the day. This allows them to conserve both energy and water, which is particularly important in arid environments. This passive cooling effect means that nocturnal animals can often sustain longer periods of activity, such as foraging or searching for a mate, than their daytime Bt counterparts. The cool night air is a resource in itself, a gentle and supportive medium in which to live and move. The sensitive paws of a badger, equipped with long, sturdy claws, are a primary tool for its nocturnal life. These claws are not just for defense, they are highly adapted for digging. Their shape and thickness make them perfect for breaking through hard soil and tearing apart rotten logs in search of insects, worms, and other invertebrates. This physical adaptation is the key to the badger's foraging success. It allows them to access a rich source of food that is hidden just beneath the surface of the forest floor, a subterranean larder that is inaccessible to most other May creatures. The tapetum lucidum, the reflective layer in the eyes of many nocturnal animals, is not just a simple mirror. It is a highly organized structure composed of crystalline plates or fine fibers of collagen. The precise arrangement and composition of these elements are what determine the reflective properties of the layer. The color of the eyeshine we see, which can range from blue to green to yellow, is a result of the specific way these microscopic structures interfere with the light waves, a phenomenon known as thin film interference. The structure is finely tuned to reflect the wavelengths of light that are most abundant in the animal's natural nighttime environment. The pupils of many nocturnal animals are capable of an incredible range of dilation. They can constrict to a tiny pinpoint in bright light to protect the sensitive retina, and then open up so wide in the dark that they seem to take up the entire surface of the eye. This extreme adaptability is controlled by a powerful set of muscles in the iris. It allows the animal to function effectively across a vast spectrum of light conditions, from the bright glare of a full moon to the deep, almost total darkness of a Utah moon in a dense forest. The ability to produce sound for echolocation is a demanding physiological feat. A bat generates its ultrasonic calls using its larynx or voice box, which is controlled by some of the fastest contracting muscles ever documented in a mammal. These muscles can contract and relax up to 200 times per second. This incredible speed is what allows the bat to produce the rapid series of clicks and calls needed for high-resolution navigation. The entire process is also metabolically expensive, requiring a significant amount of energy to power these super-fast vocal muscles through the night. Many nocturnal creatures possess a vomeronasal organ, also known as Jacobson's organ. This is an auxiliary olfactory sense organ located in the roof of the mouth. It is used to detect specific, heavy, moisture-borne chemical cues, such as the pheromones involved in mating or social recognition. When a snake flicks its tongue, it is not tasting the air. It is collecting these chemical particles and transferring them to the opening of the vomeronasal organ. This gives the animal a much more detailed and nuanced chemical picture of its environment, a layer of information that is separate from what it perceives through its nose. The permeable skin of a forest amphibian, such as a salamander, is a double-edged sword. While it allows them to absorb oxygen directly from the moist night air, It also makes them extremely vulnerable to dehydration. Their entire physiology is a delicate balancing act of maintaining moisture. To this end, they produce a layer of mucus on their skin that helps to slow evaporation, and their behavior is tightly linked to ambient humidity levels. They are living barometers, their variability to be active tied directly to the amount of water vapor in the air around them. The slow, deliberate movement of a foraging opossum is a behavioral adaptation that helps it to conserve energy. As a marsupial, it has a lower metabolic rate than most other mammals of a similar size, meaning it operates on a tighter energy budget. By moving slowly and methodically, it minimizes its energy expenditure while it searches for food. This, combined with its incredibly varied omnivorous diet, allows it to thrive in a wide range of habitats, a quiet and successful strategy for a life lived at a slower pace. The ears of a moth are among the simplest in the animal kingdom, yet they are remarkably effective. In many species, the ear, or tympanal organ, consists of just a thin membrane of cuticle stretched over an air sac, with only 1 to 4 auditory neurons attached to it. Despite this simplicity, these ears are exquisitely sensitive to the high-frequency cries of bats. They provide a basic but life-saving piece of information: the presence of a predator. The system is a beautiful example of evolutionary efficiency, providing the maximum amount of critical information with the absolute minimum of anatomical complexity. The deep, booming call of a large owl is a product of its vocal anatomy. The sound is produced in its syrinx, the avium equivalent of a larynx, which is located at the base of its trachea. The low frequency of the call is a result of the large size of its resonating chambers and the slow vibration of its vocal membranes. This low-frequency sound is perfectly adapted for long-distance communication in a forested environment, as the long sound waves are able to travel around obstacles like trees without losing much energy. The owl's very voice is shaped by the physics of the world it inhabits. The quiet footfalls of a fox are made possible by the unique anatomy of its paws. The pads are surrounded by fur, which helps to muffle the sound of its steps, and it has a gait that is very direct and precise. It often places its hind paw directly into the track left by its front paw, minimizing noise and disturbance. This precise way of walking, combined with its soft, padded feet, allows it to move through the undergrowth with exceptional stealth. It is a whole-body adaptation for silent movement, a physical expression of the fox's role as a quiet and careful hunter of the night. At the very heart of all nocturnal behavior is the master biological clock, located in a tiny region of the brain's hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. This small cluster of neurons is the central pacemaker that synchronizes the daily rhythms of the entire body. The SCN receives direct input from the eyes about the ambient light levels, which it uses to keep itself aligned with the external 24-hour day. It then sends out signals to the rest of the body, coordinating cycles of hormone release, body temperature, and metabolism, ensuring that the animal's entire physiology is perfectly prepared for the challenges and opportunities of the night. The nightly activity of forest animals is not a fixed schedule, but a fluid and adaptable one, often showing subtle shifts with the changing of the seasons. Some species may extend their active hours during the hottest months of the year, using the longer, cooler nights to their advantage. Others may become more active during the day in the winter to conserve energy. This flexibility in timing allows animals to respond to the slow, predictable rhythm of the year. They can shift their patterns toward the twilight hours or deeper into the night, always seeking the optimal balance between light, temperature, and the availability of food that each new season brings. The line between being nocturnal and crepuscular is not always a firm one. Some animals have the remarkable ability to shift between these two patterns. their behavior changing based on the local climate or the specific light conditions of a given night. This behavioral plasticity is a subtle but powerful survival tool. This flexibility allows an animal to maximize its opportunities for finding food while minimizing its risks. If a particularly bright moon makes the middle of the night too dangerous, it can shift its activity to the dimmer light of dawn and dusk, a quiet and subtle adjustment in the ongoing calculation of survival. Human presence, even in its quietest forms, can lead to slow, long-term changes in the behavior of nocturnal forest animals. Over time, wildlife in areas with regular human activity tends to adjust its schedule, shifting its movements to later and darker hours to avoid any potential contact. This gradual retreat into the deepest parts of the night means that undisturbed darkness becomes an increasingly precious resource for these animals. Even low-risk activities like evening hikes can, over time, cause a whole community of animals to subtly alter the ancient rhythms of their nightly lives. The life of a nocturnal animal is often a series of quiet, learned routines. Many species show a high degree of fidelity to their travel routes, using the same paths night after night to move through their territory. This is especially common in landscapes with clear features, like the edge of a forest or a stream. This kind of route fidelity creates a set of consistent and well-worn corridors of nighttime movement. These are not just random wanderings, but purposeful, repeated journeys along a known and trusted path, a subtle pattern of behavior etched into the landscape over many nights. The diet of a nocturnal animal can sometimes change slowly throughout the night, following a predictable pattern. For example, some nectar-feeding bats have been observed visiting one type of flower early in the evening and then switching to a different type of flower in the hours before dawn. This subtle shift in foraging preference may be driven by the changing availability of nectar, as different flowers may produce their sweetest rewards at different times. It is a quiet, methodical adaptation to the slow, unfolding rhythm of the plant world. The movements of some nocturnal animals are influenced not just by the darkness, but by the subtle structure of the wind. A bat, for instance, might choose a commuting route that is sheltered from the prevailing winds to conserve energy and make its flight easier. This sensitivity to air movement can lead to predictable, long-term patterns of habitat use, with animals consistently preferring calm valleys over windswept ridges. It is a subtle form of weatherwise behavior, a quiet acknowledgement of the invisible forces that shape the night. For many nocturnal herbivores, such as deer, the nightly choice of where to forage is a slow and careful calculation of risk versus reward. While the distribution of food is important, their movement patterns are often more strongly influenced by the perceived presence of predators. This means that a lush patch of vegetation might be completely ignored if it feels too exposed or if the scent of a predator lingers in the air. The landscape of fear can, in this way, override the landscape of food, subtly shaping the nightly routes of these gentle creatures. In the complex, three-dimensional world of the forest, a strong sense of spatial memory is a vital tool for nocturnal animals. They build and maintain detailed cognitive maps of their home ranges, which allow them to relocate important places like favorite feeding spots or safe resting areas, all in the dark. This ability to navigate using a remembered map is particularly useful in dense vegetation where landmarks can be subtle or hard to see. It is a slow, learned skill, a quiet form of intelligence that allows for efficient and confident movement through a familiar world. The choice of where to rest during the day is a critical decision for a nocturnal animal. Many species will use specially adapted shelters, such as burrows, tree hollows, or nests made of leaves, that shield them from predators and the heat of the sun. These resting places are not chosen at random. An animal may have several preferred shelters within its territory and will choose one based on the weather, the season, or its recent foraging patterns. The quiet, hidden life of the day is just as deliberate as the active life of the night. The vocalizations of nocturnal animals, such as the calls of frogs and toads, are often tied to subtle environmental thresholds. They may require a specific level of humidity or a certain minimum air temperature to begin their nightly chorus and to sustain it for long periods. The need for high humidity is especially important, as it reduces the risk of dehydration during the prolonged effort of croaking to attract a mate. The very sound of the forest at night is thus a slow response to the changing moisture content of the air itself. The calls of nocturnal birds like the nightjar serve a purpose beyond just mating. They use their distinct vocalizations to delineate their territories in the dark, effectively drawing an acoustic boundary line that reduces the need for direct physical conflict with their neighbors. These invisible, sound-based territories are a critical adaptation for maintaining social order where visibility is at its lowest. The forest at night is partitioned not just by physical features, but by these slowly shifting and actively maintained spheres of sound. The social behavior of some nocturnal animals can be surprisingly complex, involving long-term bonds and subtle interactions. A pair of owls, for example, may maintain a bond over many years, using quiet, intimate calls to communicate with each other as they move through their shared territory at night. These subtle signs of long-term partnership and social connection are often difficult for us to observe, but they are a fundamental part of the lives of these creatures. The darkness conceals not just individuals, but entire social histories and relationships that unfold slowly over time. For many nocturnal species, the night is a time for the slow and patient business of courtship. This may involve elaborate rituals, such as the luminous displays of fireflies, the complex songs of crickets, or the subtle scent marking of mammals. These behaviors often unfold over many hours or even many nights. This extended period of courtship allows animals to carefully assess the fitness and compatibility of a potential mate before making a final commitment. It is a slow, deliberate dance of assessment and advertisement, a vital prelude to the continuation of the species. The behavior of a nocturnal animal can be subtly influenced by its own physiological state. An animal that is hungry might be willing to take greater risks, foraging in more open areas or during brighter periods of the night than it normally would. Conversely, an animal that is well-fed and satiated might be more cautious, sticking to the safest, most familiar parts of its territory. These slow, internal shifts in motivation can lead to subtle but significant day-to-day variations in an individual's behavior. The transition from a state of rest to a state of activity at dusk is not like flipping a switch. For many animals, it is a slow and gradual process. They may spend a period of time just inside their burrow or shelter, simply observing the changing light and scents of the evening before they fully emerge. This period of quiet wakefulness allows their senses and their physiology to slowly adjust to the conditions of the night. It is a gentle and unhurried transition, a moment of calm preparation before the activities of the evening begin. The dispersal of young animals is a crucial slow-motion event in the life of the forest. When a young raccoon or opossum reaches a certain age, it will leave its mother's territory and set off on a long, often perilous journey to find a new home range of its own. These dispersal events, which happen under the cover of darkness, are essential for maintaining genetic diversity and for colonizing new habitats. It is a slow, spreading tide of new life, a generational rhythm that shapes the population structure of the forest over long timescales. Even the way a nocturnal animal forages can be a slow and methodical process. An opossum, for example, moves with a deliberate and unhurried gait, carefully sniffing the ground and turning over leaves in its search for insects, snails, and, quote, fallen fruit. This slow-moving strategy helps to conserve energy, a particularly important consideration for a marsupial with a relatively low metabolic rate. Its success comes not from speed, but from its thoroughness and its incredibly varied diet, a quiet and patient approach to the nightly search for food. The health of a nocturnal predator can be subtly indicated by the quality of its vocalizations. A strong, well-fed owl, for example, may be able to produce deeper and more resonant hoots than a weaker individual. These subtle acoustic variations can be perceived by other owls. Over time, these differences in vocal performance can influence the social dynamics of the forest, affecting an individual's ability to defend a territory, attract a mate. The very sound of an animal's voice can be a slow and honest signal of its long-term well-being. The nightly behavior of many forest animals is subtly linked to the memory of past events. A deer that had a close encounter with a coyote near a particular stream may avoid that area for weeks or even months afterward, even if the predator is long gone. This long-lasting memory of risk creates a ghost of the past that continues to shape the animal's present behavior. The landscape is thus not just a physical space, but a place imbued with the slow, fading echoes of past experiences. The end of the night brings another slow transition, this time from activity back to rest. As the first light of dawn begins to touch the sky, the chorus of the night fades, and nocturnal animals begin to make their way back to their daytime shelters. This return to the den or the roost is not a frantic retreat, but a calm and orderly conclusion to the night's work. It is a final, gentle movement that completes the daily cycle, a slow breath out before the forest settles into the quiet slumber of the day. The forest at night is a place of profound quiet, a quiet that is not empty, but filled with the soft, subtle sounds of life. The air itself seems to settle, and with it, a sense of deep and gentle peace descends upon the woods. In this stillness, we can feel the slow, steady pulse of a world that is very much alive, a world that moves to a different and more ancient rhythm. This quiet is not just an absence of noise, but a presence in itself. It is the backdrop against which the faintest rustle of a leaf or the most distant call of a bird can be heard with perfect clarity. It is a gentle space, a soft blanket of calm that allows the most delicate details of the night to emerge and be noticed. For many animals of the forest, the night is not a time of fear, but a time of sanctuary. The darkness provides a comforting veil of security, a shelter from the pressures of the daytime world. Within its soft embrace, they can move with a sense of freedom and confidence, their senses perfectly attuned to the subtle language of the shadows. This feeling of safety is a fundamental resource, as vital as food or water. It allows the forest's nocturnal inhabitants to go about their lives with a quiet assurance, their behavior shaped not by anxiety, but by the deep, instinctual knowledge that the darkness is their home, their ally, and their peaceful refuge. The simple act of resting is a crucial part of the nocturnal cycle. When a forest creature settles down for the day in its burrow, its hollow, or its nest, its body enters a state of deep conservation. Its heart rate slows, its breathing becomes shallow, and its metabolism drops, saving precious energy for the activities of the coming night. This period of quiet stillness is a time of restoration and renewal. It is a necessary pause, a slow and gentle retreat from the world that allows the body to heal and the mind to rest. The hidden, sleeping life of the day is the quiet foundation upon which the active life of the night is built. The air in the forest at night is often rich with the scent of damp earth, of decaying leaves, and of the subtle perfumes of night-blooming flowers. This complex olfactory tapestry is a gentle and ever-present aspect of the nocturnal environment, a quiet form of communication that speaks of life, decay, and regeneration. To wander through the woods after dark is to be immersed in this world of scent. It is a form of perception that is both deeply primal and incredibly nuanced, a reminder that the world communicates in more ways than we can see. Its stories, carried on the soft, invisible currents of the night air. The relationship between a nocturnal animal and its territory is an intimate and long-term one. Over many nights, an animal like a fox or a raccoon comes to know every hollow, every stream, and every fallen log within its home range. The landscape ceases to be a random collection of features and becomes a familiar and predictable home. This deep familiarity brings a sense of comfort and efficiency to the animal's life. It moves not through a strange and hostile world, but through a place that it knows completely, a place filled with the memory of past journeys and the promise of future. Security. Its territory is not just a space, but a sanctuary it has built from memory. Even on a moonless night, the sky is never completely dark. The faint collective light of billions of distant stars provides a soft ambient glow that permeates the forest. For an animal whose eyes have adapted to the darkness, this starlight is more than enough to navigate by, a gentle and reliable source of illumination. This faint and beautiful light connects the life of the forest floor directly to the grand scale of the cosmos. The quiet movements of a mouse or a deer are guided by the same ancient light that has traveled for millions of years to reach our planet, a silent and profound link between the smallest of creatures and the vastness of the universe. The life of a nocturnal insect, such as a moth, is often a short and ephemeral one. Many species live for only a few days or weeks as adults, their brief time dedicated entirely to the crucial tasks of mating and laying eggs. Their quiet, fluttering presence in the night is a fleeting but vital part of the forest's story. There is a gentle beauty in this transient existence. Their lives are a brief, concentrated burst of purpose, a quiet and determined fulfillment of their biological destiny, played out under the soft light of the moon, before they disappear back into the silence from which they came. The slow, creeping movement of a snail or a slug across the forest floor is a perfect example of a life lived at a different pace. Their glistening trails are a record of a quiet and methodical journey, a testament to the fact that success in the natural world does not always belong to the swift. By moving slowly, they conserve energy and are able to feed on the delicate films of algae and fungi that other, faster creatures might overlook. Their humble, unhurried progress is a gentle reminder that there are many different and equally valid ways to navigate the world. The deep, resonant hoot of an owl is a sound that defines the nocturnal forest. It is a call that speaks of solitude and of presence, a calm and confident announcement of its place in the world. Though it is a sound of predation, it is also a sound of stillness, a single, pure note in the vast silence of the night. To hear an owl's call is to feel the deep and peaceful pulse of the nocturnal world. It is a sound that does not shatter the quiet, but somehow deepens it, a vocalization that has become the very embodiment of the forest's mysterious and gentle soul. As the night deepens, a quiet sense of order settles over the forest. The frantic energy of the day gives way to a more deliberate and measured pace of life. The movements of nocturnal animals are often more purposeful, their interactions more subtle, their world governed by a calm and steady rhythm. This nightly sense of order is a comforting thought. It suggests a world that is not chaotic, but is instead a complex and self-regulating system, a community of creatures that have found a way to live together in a state of dynamic and peaceful equilibrium. The cool, moist air of the night provides a gentle and supportive medium for life. For an amphibian, it is a life-giving bath, but keeps its skin from drying out. For a mammal, it is a welcome relief that allows it to move and forage without the stress of the daytime heat. The very atmosphere becomes a source of comfort. This gentle quality of the night air is a resource in itself. It is a soft and nurturing element that embraces all the creatures of the night, reducing the harshness of the world and creating a space where life can proceed with a quiet and comfortable ease. The darkness of the night has a way of simplifying the world, of stripping it down to its essential forms. The riot of color and distracting detail of the day is replaced by a world of soft shapes and subtle textures. In this simplified landscape, other senses can come to the fore. This shift in perception can be a peaceful one. It invites a more focused and intimate way of experiencing the world, a turning inward to the data of scent, sound, and touch. The darkness is not an absence, but a presence that quiets the eyes and awakens the rest of the soul. There is a unique and gentle beauty to the plants that have adapted to the night. The pale, luminous blossoms of the evening primrose or the moonflower seem to gather and hold the faint light of the sky, glowing softly in the deep shadows of the forest. They are quiet beacons in the darkness. Their soft fragrances, released into the cool night air, are a form of gentle invitation, a sweet and subtle perfume that drifts through the woods. They are a reminder that the world of beauty and life does not end when the sun goes down, but simply transforms into a different and more delicate form. The water of a forest stream takes on a different character at night. Its surface becomes a perfect dark mirror, reflecting the soft light of the stars and the silent silhouettes of the trees that line its banks. The sound of its movement, the gentle gurgle and splash, seems to become clearer and more pronounced in the stillness. This nightly transformation of a familiar feature is a source of quiet wonder. The stream becomes a ribbon of liquid starlight, a dynamic and living part of the nocturnal landscape that is both soothing in its sound and beautiful in its soft, reflected light. The silence of a sleeping animal is a profound and peaceful thing. To imagine a deer curled up in a thicket or a bear in its den is to contemplate a state of absolute tranquility and trust. In sleep, the animal is completely vulnerable, yet it is also completely at peace, its body given over to the slow, restorative rhythms of rest. This image of peaceful slumber is a comforting one. It speaks of a world where, even in the midst of the constant struggle for survival, there are moments of perfect calm and security, moments when the entire forest seems to hold its breath in a shared and gentle sleep. The gradual fading of the stars and the first faint hint of grey in the eastern sky mark the slow transition from night back to day. This is a magical, in-between time, a moment of perfect balance when the creatures of the night are finishing their activities and the creatures of the day are just beginning to dare. Stir. The air at this hour has a unique quality of stillness and anticipation. It is a soft and gentle pause between two worlds, a quiet and thoughtful moment that holds the promise of the coming sun and the memory of the night that has just passed. The forest floor at dawn is often covered in a fine layer of dew, each tiny droplet catching the first rays of light like a jewel. This moisture is the quiet residue of the cool, humid night, a physical record of the atmospheric conditions that have supported the nocturnal ecosystem. There is a simple and profound beauty in this morning dew. It is a sign of renewal, a fresh coating on the world that makes everything seem clean and new. It is the night's soft and gentle gift to the coming day. The first chorus of birdsong at dawn is a sound of pure and gentle optimism. It begins with a single, tentative voice in the pre-dawn quiet, and then slowly builds into a rich and complex symphony that welcomes the arrival of the sun. It is a sound of awakening, and of life beginning anew. This daily celebration is a beautiful and reassuring rhythm of the natural world. It is a reminder that no matter how long or how dark the night may be, the morning will always come, bringing with it the warmth, the light, and the gentle, hopeful music of a new day. The last creatures of the night to retreat are often the most secretive, melting back into the shadows just as the world begins to brighten. A fox returning to its den, its paws leaving soft tracks in the morning dew, is a silent and fleeting image of the transition between the two worlds. There is no sense of hurry in this final movement, just a calm and steady retreat into the quiet spaces of the day. It is the soft closing of a door, a gentle and final act in the beautiful, unfolding story of the forest at night. As the light grows and the sounds of the day begin to take over, the world of the night does not vanish, but simply recedes. It pulls back into the shadows, into the earth, into the quiet, sleeping bodies of its inhabitants, where it rests and waits to emerge once more. The memory of its peace and its gentle mysteries remains. And so, the cycle continues, a slow and endless turning of the world, from light to dark and back to light again. And in this turning, there is a deep and reassuring constancy, a soft rhythm that holds the forest and all of its creatures in a gentle and unwavering embrace.